Ladies love the skin.
Ow.
Bring it a little bit closer. The good skin, that is. That's why having a proper skincare routine is very important, and you need to feel it to each. The process is so easy, just 4 steps. You got your daily face wash. That's gonna clean your face up nice and right. You got your exfoliator scrub. That's gonna open up your pores. You got your AM moisturizer with the SPM 20, which is gonna protect you from the sun. You also got your PM moisturizer, which is gonna make sure your skin is protected throughout the night. Teej has tons of reviews from dedicated customers across the world. I know I said a lot, but it's okay, because guess what? It comes with an instruction card to explain to you in detail what to do morning and night.
And because Teej is sponsoring this video, they're offering you an amazing deal. Just click the first link in the description to get 30% off your first skincare system and a free gift. Plus, as a member, you'll also get 20% off for life. By the way, both gifts you're choosing from are a $20 value and a complete game changer. A silicone body scrubber or a nail and face grooming kit. Personally, I prefer the silicone body scrubber. I don't like using towels when I travel, so the body scrubber is an excellent way to open up the pores and get the body clean. So don't wait any longer. Click the first link in the description to start your skincare journey today.
What's going on, family? I'm Lapeef, and I'm here to show you my daily routine using Assured Man King on top. Assured Man presents to you a men's 4-piece beard, hair, and body grooming kit that stimulates your hair follicles, strengthens the follicle wall, softens, hydrates, and controls your hair. The system doubles as a hair, face, and body care application. The first thing you want to do is you want to make sure your beard is clean using a beard, face, and body cleanser. It also has hemp oil, omega-3, omega-6, and omega-9. Steaming is great for guys with a coarser beard texture as the extra moisture softens and smooths the hair shaft, making it easier for combing and brushing and styling. Now we want to use the beard and hair oil. The beard and hair oil is for hydrating your beard to help soften and tame the thick hairs. It acts as a way of conditioning the hair without drying it out, giving it a sleek, groomed look. It's also aimed at taming flyaways to keep your style in line. Now we want to use the beard growth balm. Our beard balm ingredients nourish your beard so that it stays conditioned, and we use only natural fixed oils that will nourish the beard hair. Keeping your beard moisturized will help do away with dryness by conditioning the beard hairs and the skin. Our beard balm helps reduce breakage and tangles. Now we want to grab our pick out the beard to give it that full look. After you get all the hair even, you want to take your brush and brush down all the loose hairs. Before I go to bed, I use the beard, face, and body moisturizer lotion. Using this lotion helps moisturize and conditions the beard hairs, leaving the hair soft and tangle-free. It also helps with grooming and with maintenance, and also an easy comb for the morning. What are you waiting for? It's time for you to get assured today.
Stop trying to find your manhood through your dick. I want you black men to imagine a world where I did this. Snap my fingers, Thanos, Reality Stone, and away goes your penis and your balls. Every last one of your black dicks goes away. Then what are you? Your testosterone levels stay, your muscular levels stay, everything else remains, but your dicks are all gone. Where are you? What kind of man are you? Far too many of us black men try to make our masculinity and manhood through our dicks. We spend an inordinate amount of time in our youth trying to fuck our way into manhood. That's why you got so many young guys who aren't even where they should be, thinking, I can fuck my way in, I can make her this. And where do you rank amongst other men? We're the only group of men who walk around with our dick thinking that makes us a man.
Happy Friday.
Hey, bro.
Preach. He was preaching. He was saying something right there.
Bro was snapping.
Yeah. Kevin had something to say. Oh, when you pop up, Marky Mark.
I'm always here. Always.
Happy Friday, you guys. Let me introduce our panelists for tonight. We have Mistaken, Marky Mark, Viz, and HD. My name is Shia Monet, and this is a Chic critique. Oh, in the great words, and that is that how you say the great words of Kevin Samuel? Is that the right way to say it?
In the words of great Kevin Samuel.
From
The
the
late
late,
great.
the late great
Late great, right.
KS said, keep your P in your pants. The double P. P in your pants.
Question from hearing that. Just a quick question. Do you think the opposite is true in terms of women? Do women think that they can F their way into womanhood?
I think some of them do, especially now.
Wait, I missed part of it. So did he say that a lot of men use sex to be men? Was that the
They
point?
think that they use that as
Yeah.
part of their manhood. Like, you don't have to do nothing else. I'm my way into manhood.
That he said in the Black community, that's the mindset of a lot of men, is thinking that they can F their way into manhood.
Yeah. I know the first time I got some, I felt different. I felt like I was a grown man. I ain't gonna lie. I was walking through it was like the first time I hit the blunt. The first time I hit the blunt.
What is unpack? We need unpack on the unpack on the mic tonight. What is
unpack? Give her, go ahead and give her this link. Tell her to log on.
What y'all want her to do? She probably traveling the world right now.
Must
See,
be nice.
I got nice etiquette. When she here, I'm gonna share the mic unless she call in from the link. Then I'm gonna talk a lot.
We like unpack.
Well, I think it is an interesting thing that I do think that when women have sex, that makes them feel like a woman. Like that first time that you have sex as a woman, you just like, oh, you kind of like blossomed into a woman when you have sex.
No, who sung that song? Is a song. Oh my
yeah,
God.
that make me a woman. It's like Betty White,
Yes.
maybe. You
Right.
said you'd be gentle with me, but
Yeah.
I hope
That
you
don't make
will.
it right. That don't make it the truth.
No,
I mean, we're not arguing the truth. We're just saying that sometimes, like on both sides, but I think that women do feel like, you know, they kind of like grow up when, you know, you have sex to some degree. When guys have sex, we just feel like we done something, like we accomplished something. Like we're just like, yeah, I'm the man now. Not necessarily that you achieve manhood, but that, you know, like you just move differently after you done got some action. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, it'd be like, hey, Marcus, smell my finger.
It was some struggle years, boy. They could wash their hand to prove they got some. Like, yeah, that you know what that is.
Hey, smell my finger.
If y'all smell it, ain't that stinking?
Nah,
And wouldn't it be fingering somebody? That's it. Wouldn't that be different? That's a different level of. I mean, I don't know.
Well, we talking about when you first start doing this stuff. So that the finger might have been the first thing you started doing. You know what I'm saying?
And that mean it stunk if you smell.
No, it ain't had no odor.
I think that too. So I think what he is saying. Okay, so let's just say this. That's when you're a child. You're young, you know, and you might be not a child. I hope you're an adult, but you're still young. The problem is, it's still people. That's their thing. They ain't trying to be successful. They ain't trying. It's like they put all their focus on just that energy goes into having SDX. And if they put, like we talk about this all the time, if they put that same energy into being successful, they probably we will be up.
So
I mean, I was just gonna say no, that and that's what boils down to what I always kind of say is that there's different levels, you know what I'm saying, to it all. It's different levels of guys, of women that view that in a certain type of way, as to where that's all that they own, that's all that they're about. And then is people on the other end of the spectrum So it's finding who you click with that's on that same side.
What do y'all think about this theory that wherever you reach your sexual peak age, so say you're able to get the women you want at 16, all the women you want, what is your motivation to really keep going that hard? Do you think a lot of people get to that point and then be like, man, I'm good at this? Because I remember a lot of dudes that as soon as they start winning, wherever they start winning at, that's the level they stopped at. Like, unless you just had an extreme drive to do something else, it like,
That's why
want
the real attractive people, they were young, they were real attractive, and they end up being not even being successful. They just end up being just, you look at them like, what happened to you?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
About is that if you place all your emphasis in your manhood and the amount of women that you can sleep with, then you cease to you minimize what manhood really is, because like you said, when you reach your peak after you done had a bunch of sex, after you've had sex so many times with so many different women, is not different. It's nothing different. So if you put all your eggs in that area, then yeah, it makes sense that you won't really accomplish much of anything else until you set a new goal or set a new standard.
Would you think that, like, so like, you know how a lot of the men who did not have social lives in high school tend to fare out better than the men who did have social lives?
Yeah, I do.
Because of that.
No.
Yeah.
No?
The reason I would say yes is because, like how we talked about pretty girls, a lot of times pretty girls don't have to develop other skills because it comes very easy to them. They don't have to develop other skills because guys are just going to approach them. Guys are just going to give them things without them really having to give anything in return or develop communication skills or develop, all of these other skills that would make her a rounded person. And I think it's the same for guys. When you're an attractive guy or, like athletes or whatever, the type of guy that girls are going to be attracted to, you don't really have to develop a whole lot of skill set because the girls are going to come to you naturally. So,
yeah, and that's why I was saying, in a lot of times, most athletes, celebrities, they be lame as hell because they didn't have to go through that stage of developing themselves, you know what I'm saying, to have something that stands out aside from them, being a jock or whatever.
Sorry, I'm trying to get my cable cord.
I was trying to figure out, was that me or not?
Yeah, that was me. You got me on echo. But so, but I agree. I think that mistaken answered it the way I would have answered it. I think that people who get it early on are less successful later on, with the exception of some athletes. And I say that because athletes do, through their gift, go to school and it's almost like they're in an environment and it kind of changes them a little bit. But without that, let's just say you weren't an athlete and you're just attractive for whatever reason, they just
that's all they have is the attraction.
That's all they got. That's all they got. If you're attractive and you got it going on, you that top. And we ain't got
1%.
You that it ain't even 1%. It's like a 0.005.
Yeah,
you got to use these between one or the other, attractive or successful. You probably ain't gonna get both.
Yeah, I think that the idea that you were younger and winning, I do agree. Somebody said this in the chat that they do keep winning. I just think that sometimes what people accept from you is different depending on who you are. If you've always been attractive and you've been attractive your whole entire life, people just accept your attractiveness and they don't really care about some of the other qualities. So they can still, in essence, kind of still win with less versus, somebody that's a late bloomer where you had to develop skills, you had to be able to listen and talk, and, you got to have a certain thing about you that makes you unique. They end up winning a little differently in the future. They might not have as many wins as the more attractive person, but they've learned how to make some things work over time.
Okay. Anybody else want to add to that?
Do you think people hold animosity towards the people that grew up and they felt like do you think women hold animosity to women they feel like had it easier? And do you think men hold animosity to men they feel like had it easier? And do you think that plays out in opportunities or them trying to limit things out of that anger or feelings coming from stemming from that place?
Let
I
me
think it
see.
really happened with women for sure with the light skin, dark skin thing. The light skin, dark skin girl, that whole pretty girl. Oh, she light skin, she thinks she pretty, blah blah blah. I think that's for sure. For guys, I don't know. I feel like with guys, it's a little different, but with women, absolutely. I think they got that light skin, dark skin girl thing, you know, since elementary school, if not before that.
So do you think men get jealous of other men?
Yeah.
What
Yeah,
do
I
you think
think
they
What do you mean by jealous?
They see you have something that they want and it pisses them off. They feel like you're in a position that they should be in or that you don't deserve something. They harbor animosity and wish negativity on you, like they wish you fail.
No, I don't think most
men
do
don't
that.
do that.
I don't think
most
most, but
men
I
do
do
that.
think men do it.
It's a
No, man,
human
definitely.
experience. You're trying to now it may be expressed differently, but definitely because I see what was that? I don't know that guy's name, but we played that clip on here before where that guy who was talking, he was trying to talk to the other guy about taking care of his household, saying that
Yada.
man's responsibility to take care of the household, and you're not a man if you're not doing X, Y, and Z. And the guy, you could see he came out, he was just like, not everybody grew up easy and had it like you had it, so you don't know what you're talking about, like that kind of stuff. That you could clearly see that there was a level of like, he was mad that he wasn't in that situation to be able to do that. I do
Yeah, but
definitely think
Yeah,
guys
I think that's
definitely.
a little different though.
No, see, that's what I'm saying. We're trying to make a different assumptions, but it's the same outcome. Guys
Yeah,
do
no, I agree.
hate
I agree.
on other guys because I've heard successful dudes talk about how, man, I thought dude was my friend, while all the while he was in the background, like hating on the nigga, right?
Yeah.
And
Back
try to
door.
sabotage certain things that they do because they're envious. And
Yeah.
I've seen that firsthand with my brother and his friends. Like one of his friends was upset because he felt like he was a better ball player, and his dream was to go to the NBA and do all of this stuff with basketball, and he didn't make it. And you know what I'm saying? My brother did. And my brother, that really wasn't his passion. He didn't really know what he wanted to do, but it just kind of he was blessed. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
and on the back end, his friend was in the background really hating on him. And a lot of times you can hear that guys are trying to play jokes like they're joking. Like, oh, that nigga know if he wasn't a such and such, he knew he wouldn't even have access to them girls. Like Marcus can have dudes like them girls wouldn't even be interested in him if he wasn't playing ball. So they hate in a different way. They try to act like they're playing, but they're serious.
No, that should be 100% serious. And
Yeah.
I didn't experience that a lot. So I'd be hypersensitive to it. Like my whole thing is if we friends, I want you to win. If you're in a position that's better than me, hopefully you want me to raise up and come up. I feel that way about them. If I'm whatever level I'm at, I would love for you to be at that level or higher because I'm not a hater. But there are a lot of people who don't want you to win. They want you to lose. They don't want to win. They just want you to lose. Like you got to separate yourself from that. Like people that can't be happy for you, or people who don't celebrate your wins with you, or if you feel a way about telling somebody something because you feel like you're gonna make them like it's hard to maintain friendships when if I have good news I can't share it with you because I feel like it's gonna make you angry.
Jealous. Yeah, I think even with the Yada example, like with him, I think that when I think I seen that the segment that you're talking about, but that topic can be extremely sensitive for men, especially with it being regurgitated all across the internet. So let's say this guy is in a tough spot, in which we all experience at some point in time in life, and you got this nigga sitting across from you like, oh well, I gave my wife $250,000 before we got married and all of this, and it's like, bro, what is you doing? You know what I'm saying? Now you're coming at this man's manhood. So the only instinctive thing that a man is going to do is attempt to defend himself in whatever type of way, just because of how he's delivering it, as we talked about earlier. You know what I'm saying? So if you taking a direct jab at him, then of course that's gonna trigger anybody.
So what I find interesting about that is now, because not you, but a lot of men will say facts, feelings don't matter, only facts. I don't care how you deliver a message. But when Yada's delivering his message, everybody was mad at the tone in which he delivered it and what he was saying. I don't know if you noticed that, but a lot of people, I mean, what he was saying was kind of bogus. I agree, but I'm just saying a lot of people had an issue with the tone that he was taking and the way that he was
Yeah.
speaking to that man. But when we,
I mean,
a lot of
on
times
some
people
real
feel like
shit,
tone don't
if
matter.
we in the street, you talking to me like that, bro, you got one more time to say something, and we gonna have to scrap.
So I asked this:
if tone and delivery doesn't matter and you need to focus on a message, why
do
would
you
you
feel?
And
Viz,
people didn't
like
agree with the
Viz,
message either.
Viz, do you feel tone and delivery matter?
Absolutely.
Okay. What about you, HD?
Ye- To say yes or no, I would say yes, it matters. But I also want to add a caveat that it depends, because if you're on a football field and somebody's yelling at you, telling you get your stuff together, your tone, no matter how you say it, you hear the message. And I just think that it sometimes just depends on who you're talking to, because most men, it doesn't matter how you package the statement unless you feel like you're being disrespected. But if you're able to just listen to this person and you're not an easily offended person, even if this person says something that's offensive to everybody else, you're not going to be offended. So, because that's my hard thing in these conversations, because like, if you're not a person that's offended by things, it doesn't matter what anybody says. If you can listen to a person's point and separate what they're saying versus how they're delivering it, you'd have a very different perspective on the conversation. But because everybody puts things in a pot, like this conversation that Miss Taken just brought up, she moved it to what men are seeing as accomplishments or stuff that he's doing, when we were talking about more so attractiveness. Brothers understand an attractive brother, or he's tall and stuff like that. Like, we understand that. But when we're talking about like somebody that you're close to and how that affects how you might feel like, dang, I work as hard as he works, but he's better. He's got things more than me. Or you see this guy that comes out of nowhere talking about, man, she shouldn't have to work. You a bum, you soft, you trash, because you're not a true man, because you can't provide everything for your woman. You don't even deserve to be married. Like, these are very different things when it comes to the way that men look at jealousy or envy. But too many times we mix a lot of stuff together that you can separate all the time. But for me, like, I don't think most guys are looking at dudes and being like, "Oh, that's an attractive dude. Like, that's a fly dude. Like, I can't stand that dude." Like, unless you're just the type of person that just, you ain't got no self-esteem and no confidence. But most guys that see fly dudes or brothers that's getting it and that's out here doing something and looking fly, we'd be like, shoot, I gotta step my game up. Let me go find me a suit. Let me go get me a nice watch. Let me get me my whip game proper and make sure that my stuff is nice. Cause it's like, honestly, us men, we like to be filled with accomplishment. Like, we like to do things that make other people be like, that dude's worthy of respect because of what he accomplished.
I think that you're talking about yourself.
No, I'm talking about men in general.
No, not people like you. But I, yeah, you're not so there are different types of men. So what I'm saying,
you don't mean it as a diss. What she's talking about is the way that he's
on the
thinking, his mindset. He's referring that to the same group of people like him that have that same mindset.
Because
No. I'm talking about the attractiveness portion, not the accomplishment portion.
Oh, right. So that's what I was going to say. I agree with you. I don't think that it's the attractiveness that gets people, that makes them jealous. I do think it's the accomplishment. I think we got to stop comparing men to women. I think women
absolutely
put attractiveness on a pedestal, and for men we put accomplishment on a pedestal. So let's talk about the men's side, which is the accomplishment. I do see that there are men who, and I even saw it in college. I remember there was a fight. And this one guy who we call them locals. Y'all know when you're in college, you call them locals. And I remember he stepped to him and he said, "What, you think you better than me? Because you all in, you know." And I remember that. And he shot him in his, let me tell you, he shot him in his mouth. And that was the conversation.
Which person?
You said what?
Who shot who in the mouth?
The local. This was a kid who, and it was like his first week of school. He was a freshman at the school. And I remember that was a block party.
Mm-hmm.
And so to say that does not happen, and I remember that very well, because it was traumatizing. That's crazy. That happens. And it's a small level. That's just going to school. So you know, even when we see these people who make it big, you know, and whatever, they always say like they homie was jealous, set them up. You know what I'm saying? Like. Yeah. You hear that all the time. We're not gonna play like that's not a thing. It may not be in your group. It may not be anybody in the chat who's, you know, they may not do that, but those people do exist.
No, it absolutely happens, and it happens every day.
I think it's a lot. I would beg to say it's a higher percentage of people that would do that than wouldn't.
Especially now.
Yeah.
Especially like, now.
The people that won't absolutely won't, and just probably great people. But the people that will, given the opportunity, they'll get their mama. You know what I'm saying? Like
it was years back. No, some years back.
Damn, the mama.
About 10 years ago, it was a guy in Chicago that killed his mother for
she ran a hair salon, and dude, the light-skinned dude, come and get withdrawing the money out of Chase and blowing it.
Had a hitman off his mama so that he can get the you know what I'm saying, the cash that she had in the bank and the insurance and whatnot. Yeah, so no, that definitely happened, but I that it depends on the caliber of that person as well, though. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, HD, some guys are gonna be like, "Oh man, I need to step my up," and some niggas is gonna be like, "Oh, I need that," so they, you know what I'm saying, they're gonna come try and poke you, or you know what I'm saying, backdoor you or whatever, you know, set you up.
What Jay-Z had a line where he was saying, invisible ink, I had to read signs that wasn't there. My crash course was much tougher. Around friends who kill their friends then hug their friend's mother. Show up to the funeral complete with blank stares. Invisible ink, I had to read things that wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
Like in my life, I feel like when I was talking about hypersensitivity, it's to catching those things, because that could turn deadly at any moment. Like at any moment, you piss off the wrong person just by living, especially if they feel like you doing something that they not able to do, or you doing really big things in their eyes. It may be normal to you. Just talking about your life can be seen as trying to flex on somebody.
Remember that happened in Juice. That's how Tupac killed Raheem.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it's
sorry.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely think that's a thing, and that's been happening since day one.
Joseph in the Technicolor coat, right? The coat.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying, Joseph and him.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I'm mad.
Cain and Abel.
I've been thinking about that coat.
Like that's been happening since the beginning of time, of human nature.
That's why I was saying, that's what you brought it back to what I said. I think it's a human nature. I think a lot of times
No, I agree. I
we
agree.
we
It is a
take
human nature.
we take these things and try to separate it to say men don't act like that. Yeah, women act like that, or women don't do that, men do that. When a lot of the stuff that we're talking about is just a part of the human experience. I think the difference is that we both experience these things, but it's expressed differently.
Right.
So that's where I think the distinction come in. So when the question was asked, do you think men, experience jealousy, or whatever your original question was, Marcus, that I think men were looking at it from one specific perspective. I think they was comparing that jealousy in the way that it looked to the way women respond to it, versus it being the way it's expressed by men. Like, just dudes coming to stick you up and rob you, to me, is a form of expression of jealousy, because you're hating on the fact that they got something that you don't,
Yeah.
and you want it.
You want
You know
it.
what I'm saying? So it looks different, but it's still the same thing.
Yeah, but it's not on the basis of attractiveness. It's based on like something that you can tangibly like gain, like as far as like status or something like that. And also, like, if somebody is robbing you, it's almost like a form of disrespect. Like, it is something to bring you down to their
No, it
level,
is disrespect.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not necessarily,
Wait,
yes,
don't jealousy cause you to
men
do
and women
that?
are about jealousy. Yes, both sides of jealousy.
Yeah, that's what I'm
But
saying.
we're
Girls do the
men
same
aren't
thing.
on the attractive jealousy train. They're
No,
on
Okay.
men definitely are on the attractive side.
I'm about to say something real ignorant. It could be ignorant or it could be true. I don't know. So I want you to correct me if I'm wrong, okay? Isn't that how Nipsey died? Wasn't that like a jealousy thing? Wasn't it something of that nature?
Well, no, so with
Yeah,
Nipsey,
but it
from what
wasn't
we
about attractiveness though.
yeah,
Wait,
no,
didn't we already say it's not about? Wait, stop saying that, because we're just
We're
saying.
saying for dudes,
well,
it's
no,
about
with
accomplishments and what they have. That's what we were saying. Like
no, that wouldn't.
the way jealousy is expressed for men. That's why I was saying it's still jealousy, but it's expressed differently. So men
Can
that
you correct me,
typically,
Biz? So I don't want to be incorrect.
yeah, so men will definitely get jealous over the things, the tangibles, the, like what she said, the position, the power, the what you have, all of that kind of stuff, because that's where society places value in men, their accomplishments and the things that they have. Whereas society places the value of women looks on them, right? So that's where you're going to see the jealousy from the women versus where the jealousy is from the men. So when you keep saying HD but looks, no, that's why Sharon was trying to differentiate the two and saying, no, it's not about looks for men, it's about their accomplishments,
No,
power,
it,
access.
it looks is definitely a part of it. I used to bodybuild some years back, and this guy that I pretty much grew up with, he was older than me. I knew him and his wife maybe 25 years now. And once I got into bodybuilding, I was really deep into it. So I'm posting pictures and shit like that or whatnot. And he literally had his wife unfollow me. You know what I'm saying? Even though we known each other, and I'm not coming at your wife at all. He and told me, what I'm saying, like, no, I had to tell her to unfollow you, bro. You woo woo. So no, that even though we cool, I ain't take no offense to it, but no, it absolutely happens, no question.
Look, I've had friends tell me, we about to, like, we stay in the dorm together, or whatever. We about to have some girls come through. Don't be too funny. Don't be too cool. Stop trying to do all that cool
Because
shit.
they
I'm like,
because
cool
they know
shit, nigga.
because they know they know they gonna choose. They know as soon as they get in there, they gonna choose.
And I'm acting how I normally act, but to them, it's an issue. But I don't know it's an issue until these girls come around.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? Or it's so many different scenarios. And
It's because
I
they're
got to the part.
competing.
You say what?
It's because in both your scenarios, like, especially to your story, Viz, like, this man probably told his wife to not follow you because he was like, God dang. Look at that. Same thing with your
I just don't
with
want
your
you looking at my
fellas.
friend like that. Maybe that's what it is. I just don't want you looking at my homeboy like that. Now,
You know what I'm saying?
he got his shirt off, and now every time he walk in the house as my friend, you imagine him with his shirt off. I don't need you seeing all that.
I wasn't even around. You know what I'm saying? Like they
You
moved
around
away.
on Instagram,
Right?
you in her pocket.
Yeah, yeah.
It was a joke. I was just
You
giving
know,
another
and then you got Marcus. Like these dudes want to win too, but they can't win. When you have an aura that supersedes everybody else, they feel like they can't win because everybody gonna flock to you, but they ain't gonna flock to them. But like in reality, listen, if they want to flock to him, then they ain't for you anyway.
It's still part of the game, though. You know what I'm saying? If it's 4 females coming over and it's 3 guys, and 3 of the chicks or even all 4 want Marcus, then now it's a competition between them, you know what I'm saying, to try to get Marcus, and on top of the competition of the 3 guys to figure out who, you know what I'm saying, who they gonna choose or entertain. So it's
musical chairs. Somebody's not gonna get a seat.
You know, the main thing I used to think when they say that, I was like, bro, y'all just need to love yourself. Because I think one of the reasons that it was attractive is because I was like unapologetically myself or whatever, right? And they didn't want to let who they were out of the bag because they were some dope individuals. They had great characteristics about themselves. It just was harder for them to showcase it at any moment.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a lot of men I meet, and I'm like, yo, dude is dope as fuck. I rock with him. And then they'll say,
lack of confidence.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. But going to the Nip thing, with Nipsey, that was more so on some hood politics shit. I want to say Nip was going around saying dude snitched. So, you know, that's sometimes how that go down. You know what I'm saying, out there.
Okay. Learn something new today. Okay, anybody else have anything? We can move on. I don't even know how we got here. We always
I don't know how every time you be like,
Marcus be starting stuff. Let me ask you a question.
All right, let's do these 2 super chats and then we're gonna move on.
The AP accountability partner. Shout out to AP with the 5. Shout out to my peeps. What's up, brodrin?
I just want y'all to know it was not me who showed up late today. I was on time. I was not holding everything up. It was these individuals over here. Because Mistaken was on time.
The girls were on time.
I wanted you to know. FYI.
I was on time. In my mind.
Emmanuel with the $5. I have been tricking in Texas for a year now. What's your opinion, fellas? I hate games. I just like to pay and enjoy. What are y'all thoughts?
Hey, so do what you into, man. I can't knock it. If that's what you went to, that's what you went to.
And that's what you want to do.
Somebody explain what that means. I'm being honest. I don't really understand what he's saying.
He's saying he just paying for it. He ain't. Hey, I ain't trying to sugarcoat nothing. This what I'm here for. Here go your $40. Boom.
Does it really cost $40?
He does he mean professionals or just if somebody he finds attractive that he want to hook up with, to be like, I ain't gonna play no games. I just want to hook up with you. That's it. We can go out to dinner. I'll pay your dinner, and then we going back to the room. And
shit, either way is tricking.
Oh, okay, got you. All right.
Well, okay, a little trick.
HD, you cool with it? You cool with tricking?
This is a loaded question.
If you got it.
It's a loaded question because I understand that, like, when you talk about all that comes with a woman, right? It could be a lot, you know, dealing with the things that you don't want to deal with when it comes to women, right? So on that aspect, I understand why people pay, but I'm just like, just to pay for somebody to have sex with them when you can get that for free, to me, that bothers me. Like, if I know everybody else can get this for free and you're making me pay, now granted, it's just like if you get a contractor to do something. It's much faster to pay somebody else to just get the job done. And you can go on about your business. But also, there are some things that are just worth you know, you just spending your hard-earned time and you're just doing it yourself. You just go out there, take your time, don't spend no money, and you just do the work. You know what I'm saying?
So let
And
me ask you a question. You brought up a good point, and I hate to go off on a tangent with this, but I hear this all the time when men say, "I don't want to pay for something somebody got for free." How do you know he got it for free? You don't even know the hard work he had to put in to get it. You understand? You don't even know if you're the man that he is. What if you're even on a different level than him? What if he's up here and you're here? So
that don't matter when I don't want to pay.
It does matter.
Unfortunately, it don't matter if I don't want to pay. If
right,
I'm like, yo, he got it for free, right? And you saw him get it for free, right?
Oh,
and then
okay.
you see her, you know,
she's
you see her,
like
and you're like, yo, like, you know what I'm saying? You're gonna feel some, just like they make this whole scenario all the time. If you went to the store and you wanted to buy a bag or some nice shoes, right? And that same pair of shoes was $100 for that person. You get to the line after that person, and they was like, all right, this is $2,000 for you. What? Wait, whoa.
It's not the same. It's not the same.
It's not the same price, but it's the same item.
No. It's not the same.
You comparing a service to
I'm not comparing the service. What I'm saying is to you is this. I understand the service. I work in the service industry. I don't have a problem with the service analogy. What I'm saying is me, I personally have a problem to have to pay for something that I could easily get for free. Like I'm just me, but I also understand that when it comes to people's time and they don't want to do the extra stuff, hey, I just want the stuff that I like from women. And if I can pay for that, get that, and go on about my business, cool. You know what I'm saying? I get it. I like it. That makes sense to me. That's the businessman in me. That makes sense. But overall, I'm like, but you can get it for free. You know,
right.
Yeah.
I think my argument was it's not necessarily what you're I don't know if we're saying the same thing or not, but I hear often that men, even in chats, they don't even have to know you, right? And they're like, why would I do something that, okay, let's say Tracy Edmonds, right? And I love Tracy Edmonds. Beautiful woman. And they're like, just using her example. I mean, it's maybe a poor example, but I should say you have Tracy Edmonds, okay? And it's like, why would I do that if I, why would I do all this stuff if I could, somebody got it for free? And I'm like, she dealt with men that are not even y'all aren't even in the same league. And when I say, and the reason why I use her, because you can see who she's dealt with. Let's talk about a person you don't know, right? You're assuming because she's had sex before that you are in the same league as the person she's had sex with.
Exactly.
And y'all may not even be, she may be lowering her standards for you.
Right. So I got a perfect example. I went to New Amsterdam a couple of years back and went to the red light district. So in the red light district, prostitution is legal. And when you walk down this one street in the red light district, or there's multiple streets, they have windows with red lights and there's women standing in it. And if you walk up to it and you see a chick that you like, hey, how much is it? And you know what I'm saying? You go and do your thing. So I'm walking past, I'm with my old lady. I'm walking past one, and the guy had asked her, how much, and she was like $100. So I'm like, okay, that ain't too bad. So we keep walking, come up to another area. It's a group of white boys. They all, kind of lingering around the door. And one of the white boys was like, man, how much? And Shorty was like, 160. And as we walking past, I'm like, she not feeling you, bro. And everybody started busting up laughing. You know what I'm saying? So shit, if a chick not into you, she gon', you know what I'm saying? She gonna make you
a little bit more, probably. You gotta do a little bit more.
You know what I'm saying? If she into you, she gonna give it, she damn near gonna give it to the motherfucker for free. So
that's not true though. It depends on the standards of her. Y'all just say if you got a chick who's on her legs, you're losing prostitution.
All right.
Listen, we're not gonna start that narrative that look. We're not going to start that narrative that there's just women out here just giving it up when you blow her neck. No. You got to put it. Most women, you gonna have to talk some smack, some stuff in our ear, which we're gonna talk about in a little bit when we see this little video I'm about to play. Little shenanigans, y'all be
Shane,
thinking.
let me ask you a question.
Have you ever had a one night stand, Shan?
No.
Being winded?
No. I'm demisexual though. I gotta build up to it, right?
I told you about answering any personal questions. Don't answer no questions about sex.
Come on, man.
Cheating,
We grown.
That's all I'm just saying.
I've never met a man.
Yeah.
Listen, I've never. Well, there was one. He was fine, no, but but it wasn't like that. I've never met a man who I'm like, oh, I'm on a date with him. Like, oh, the first thing I'm thinking about is sex. I've never met one. Please find them. Show them to me. Never met him.
Well, Shane, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Why is it that every time when you be like, does anybody have any last words or anything else to say on this topic? And then before anybody can say anything about the topic, you change the topic.
When I change the topic?
You do it every time. Hey, does anybody got anything else to add? Okay, next subject.
Because that's time for me to change the subject. It was the last.
Well,
was
then
like
just say, hey, why don't you just be like, hey, let's just change. Hey, we're going to the next topic. Not, hey, does anybody else have something to say? Okay, let's change the topic.
Now so when I say that means let's change the topic. Anything last thoughts on this? Let's go to the next topic. So
let me just say this. So Congo said mistake is stop it. We adults. Viz, you said the same thing.
Hey, we grown adults.
Right. The reason I said that is because earlier on when we first started, we had one of our panelists who was female. This is when it was all female panelists. She shared some of her personal business and
shared a few regrets.
Yeah, and decided not to be on the show anymore. Period. Okay. So that's why I say don't share, you can share stuff that's
ain't nothing to share. It's boring over here.
General terms, but
y'all should know me now.
Nothing that person like we talk behind the scenes. I don't mind sharing certain things with y'all, but in this open space like this, nope.
Well, so I can respect that for you as being
but the woman. Answer is no, Viz. No.
That's fair. I can respect that from you, Miss Taking. One, of course, being a woman. Two, you're married as well. You definitely don't want your husband to find out like you had a one night stand. Like what?
Listen, he ain't I share everything. There's nothing that I have kept from my husband ever. People don't believe that because people be lying, but I don't.
We all got some skeletons in our closet that
What she's saying is she shared those skeletons with her husband. That's what she's saying.
Yeah. No, that's fair. No, I respect that. I respect that. But still, I would still say I do know some very respectable women that engage in one night stands. You know what I'm saying? If they see something that they like. And shit, hey, this won't, and you with it or not.
Listen, all I have to say is those women that told their story and now they are feeling regret. All I have to say is, baby, come back. You can blame it all on the people that said what they said, but just come back. Y'all had a star-studded cast. You know what I'm saying? It was just the Chic critique. Now I don't even know what to call it now. Is Chic critique +2? I don't know. Got too much testosterone on the panel.
Inaz will be back.
We're waiting for Inaz to come back. We need to balance that out.
So, did anybody else have any final thoughts? So we will move on to the next subject on this topic. Is that better for you, HD?
Yes. Now, do I have time to respond, or are you still gonna move?
Go ahead. Well, you pause. I don't think it's time to move on, but go ahead, HD. Would you like to say anything?
I just like to appreciate you making that adjustment for me.
God muted your mic.
I do that every time, so that's all I would like to say. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else about that? But I'm glad you brought that up. I really wanted to talk about that, HD, because I hear that a lot. in this environment. So, all right, so we have a video.
Manipulator in the sense that I knew that I didn't want anything serious with this woman, and I knew she wanted something serious with me.
Right.
And instead of leaving her alone, I took what I could get out of it. And at the end of the day, when she was crying her tears, I could hide behind the fact that, hey, I told you what was up.
Yeah.
And that is the game plan and the strategy and the mindset that so many of us as men live by is I told you what was up.
Yeah.
How can I be wrong if I'm telling you the truth?
Right.
Well, the truth is just because you're an honest man doesn't make you a righteous man.
Right.
Your actions make you righteous. Your actions make you moral. So just because you tell somebody the truth, but you still go and do the wrong thing, your honesty doesn't absolve you from your guilt.
Right.
That'd be like me telling somebody, hey, I'm just letting you know I'm probably going to kill you at the end of this podcast, Rex. And then I go do it. Do I get off the hook with God? Do I get off the hook with the jury?
So, what are you guys' thoughts on that video? Do I need to rewind it?
I think that's taking away accountability. Like I hear what he's saying, but it's like, come on, man. Like and we was talking about this earlier again with communication. If I'm telling you this is not what I'm on, this is what I want, this is all that I'm focused on, and you understand that, and you continue to reach out to me, you continue to call, pick up the phone, you know what I'm saying? You continue to engage with me, then it's like, come on, man. At what point are we being adults here and understanding that it takes two to play? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that man may not be righteous or whatever the case may be, sure. But that's just simply part of the game. If you don't want any part of that, if that's not what you're into, if that's not what you want, walk away. Be an adult, walk away. It's that simple. Say, hey, I'm not on that. Stop calling me when you want to change, whatever. That's it. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like there's some, I hear what he's saying, but that's like some, come on, man. Let's be real. You living in a dream world.
Well, I agree with what he's saying as far as, righteous, as far as in that realm. Okay, we can make that argument. But women are smart. They're not stupid.
Come on, man.
They're not children.
Come on, man.
Right? So if somebody clearly gives you the fine print and say, hey, listen, I don't really want nothing with you, right? But I keep doing the opposite. Many times women be getting played by the dumbest dudes. The dudes would tell them everything. Y'all women be so smart until y'all feelings get involved, and then y'all be getting drugged to the streets, and then you blame men for your own actions, when in actuality, he gave you an out. You chose to continue to keep playing with the brother, and now the brother then got into your feelings and into your body, and now you want to raise all kinds of hell because you feel like you was done wrong. And like I always say, the reality is, listen, you are responsible for you. If you let people walk over you, they will do it. They have no obligation to respect your time, your money, your attention. They have no obligation to that. It is nice for a person to be considerate of you and caring and understanding and loving and all those things. It's real nice. But in all actuality, listen, you're responsible for you. If you say that you grown, you got degrees, you got a PhD, you got a master's degree, you got your own house, you got your own business, you got your own kids, you got everything in life thus far to show that you are a capable human being, but yet you're not capable of walking away from somebody that's saying something to you that you know is a problem.
Come on, man.
I got a problem with that. I think that with the education and the abilities and the wisdom of women, it makes zero sense for me to believe that you're some damsel in distress when you done darn near built an entire empire off of all of the things that you've learned up until this point.
It all go out the window for some dick. It's like, come on, man. Come on. Let's be real. Let's be adults here. I think we need to get back to saying that to adults. you're an adult, right? Let's be adults here.
Well, apparently I'm not an adult because I'd be asking for an adult sometimes when I don't feel the strongest. I'd be like, yo, I need an adult to accompany me to this thing, you know. But
You just got back from the kitty table.
Now, Congo in the chat, he did say, dicking her
hey,
down
listen,
with
it's a
emotion,
cold world.
but don't care after you nut is dangerous. Now, I will say that, you know what I'm saying, furthering to engage or interact with that woman is absolutely dangerous for sure. But again, it's part of the game. You know what I'm saying? It's if you don't want to, they used to say, if you don't want to play the game, then stay out the streets. You know what I'm saying? Get your ass out the streets then. It's just part of it, man. They come with it.
Yeah, but you know, I think overall their main point and issue is that men are still the leaders. We hold the lion's share of the responsibility of the community, right? So no matter how women operate, no matter how smart, no matter how great women are, you're still going to be held to a lion's share of responsibility that you being the man, right? You need to uphold a standard that supersedes the things that these other non-good men are exuding. You need to make sure that you're honest, that you're forthtelling, that you make sure that you set the standard and you make sure that you live above reproach even when she's not or whatever. And I'm just like, but in reality is that I guess both people are leaders because people aren't asking for men to be leaders. They're asking men to be partners. So if we are partners, right, in business, if you have a partnership agreement, that means that if you have a 50-50 partnership agreement, that means that both of you are leaders. So that means that that whole thing of men being the leaders kind of goes out the window when you start going 50-50.
Boy, you just went into a whole other.
Did anybody have anything else to say about the video?
Yeah, I think as long as you tell somebody the truth and you give them an option to accept or deny whatever you got going on, I think that's fair. There do come a point where you could. Okay, what you about that?
Yeah, because I wanted to. So my question is,
I
she
hear
stated
echo.
that's because it's Mike. She stated.
Not my mic.
She stated. Now it's not working where you turn it off and on echo, so it is your mic.
HD, come off mute.
Oh, it's HD. Oh, you're saying it's HD. So listen, what I'm saying is, yeah, I heard it. I hear it. Okay, listen. So this is the thing, the dilemma here. It's one person versus another person, right? He controls commitment. So his word is going to have more power than her word because clearly he said he knew that she wanted something else. So she made her intentions clear, just like he made his intentions clear. Okay. So the reason why his intentions obviously are more powerful is because what she wants, he controls. You understand what I'm saying?
This is what I was going to say. I think it all depends on what type of man you are professing to be. If you're not professing to be a righteous man, then I understand that, you're going to move how you move. But if you are the type of dude that is saying that you're righteous and that, you have integrity and stuff like that, a part of that having integrity, yeah, honesty is a part of it, but it's not the full thing. You're trustworthy, you're consistent in your behavior. And integrity means even when you're faced with temptation or challenges, you still opt to do the right thing. You know what I'm saying? So in that regard, then what the person, even if the person is willing to still engage with you, I think the onus is on you at that point if you're trying to be, if you're saying that you're righteous, right? But like I said, again, if you're not righteous and you're not trying to live a life of morality or being ethical, then it is what it is. I think the issue is when you try to present yourself as one way and then your actions don't align with what you're trying to say that you are, because you're going to move. If that's the man that you say you are, you're going to move that way regardless. If not, then there's no argument about that.
I think I think this is kind of dangerous because what we're doing is removing consent from women. Because if it go one way, it got to go the other way. If you remove the ability for her to consent to going into something,
come on, man.
You remove it in both directions.
Come on, man. That's why I'm not a fan of that, because it's literally taking away the accountability.
No.
Regardless if the man is saying, if the man said this in the same scenario, if he says this is not what I'm on, but the two, it takes two people to do this, to communicate. So if this woman is hearing him say one thing, but he's doing something else, and you still continue to go about it, then at what point do you take accountability for it? You know what I'm saying? It has to be a joint effort and a joint accountability being taken. And okay,
that was what I was trying to explain. At this point, this scenario is not even about the woman. It's about you as the man. So what I'm saying, no, that's what I'm saying. If you say that you are a man of integrity, if that you are saying that you're a man of morality, if you are saying that you are a man of ethic, being ethical, right? All of those things have absolutely nothing to do with anybody else. This is the type of man that you're saying you are, right? So even if you're honest with the woman to say, I want to sleep with you, but I don't want anything else. Even though you're being honest, you're not operating as the man who you say that you are by being ethical, by being moral in that regard. So it doesn't even have anything to do with the woman to say that she's with it or not with it. We're just talking about you. Just like if a woman is claiming to be a moral woman, and she wants to sleep with you, the first thing you're going to say is she ain't moral. She slept with dude and it ain't even her husband. So the same thing applies. It has nothing to do with the other person. It has everything to do with you as an individual saying, are you the person who you say that you are?
Wait, go back to you said that if you sleep with the woman, what you say about that part?
I was saying if a woman is claiming to be a moral woman, a woman of virtue, a woman of morality, right? And then she just goes and sleep with a dude saying, man, I find you attractive and I just want to sleep with you. I don't want nothing else. And she sleeps with him. What's going to happen is because she said that she's a woman of virtue, she's going to be judged on what she said she is. Her actions did not align with who the type of woman she said that she is.
I don't agree with that at all.
It's the same thing at all. Yeah, because you wouldn't.
because that's not what it is. You know what I'm saying? Again, we are sexual beings. If this woman is single, you know what I'm saying, and the guy that she want to have sex with, a one night stand, whatever, is single, those are two adults having consensual sex.
So the problem is
an issue with body count then at that point.
Listen, so listen to this. But the problem is, just like she heard his point, he heard hers. So at this point, she also he just like he said, I'm not looking for a relationship. She returned and said, I am.
One, I like to point out that I've been on mute this whole time, and I done heard that echo like 10 times. I just want to say that. You heard it too, HD, because I think you was on mute.
We have been absolved of the crime. It's between mistake and Liz and Shan.
Don't try and blame nothing on me. They be hating on my mic.
It definitely ain't me, because I got a condenser, so it's only coming this way.
Well, I don't know, but I will say that the reason why he's moving righteously, because if he tells you he's something and then he operates as the thing he told you, that's righteous. Like he's not pretending to. Now I can see if he's saying something and doing something else, then those things don't line up. But if
He's
he's
honest but not righteous. That's what
That
I'm saying. Those are two different things.
that's not how it
The
works.
definition between the two.
it,
Now,
if I,
honesty is encompassed in righteousness, right? So if you're righteous, a part of righteousness is honesty. But both of those definitions are not the same. Look it up.
and the other thing is, I don't know how you assign in righteousness to celibacy, or because that it's philosophies that don't see anything wrong sexually with people exploring. So I feel like you're pigeonholing it into the way in which the paradigm and the religion that you operate under, or maybe the way your morality is set up.
Right.
Like there's cultural relativism to that too. It's a lot of different things that can go into that. That's what I'm saying. If somebody tells you who they are, they operate as the person they said they were. I think that's like
that's them being righteous is who they are. There's no games. They're not being phony or fake or none of nothing of that nature. It's them being completely transparent with you, communicating and say, hey, X, Y, and Z, and I'm giving you the option. So
But he gave a great example in that video. He said, if I tell you I'm gonna rob you or kill you right after this show,
and you stay your dumb ass and sit there still, then that's
I'm being
like, come on, man.
No, my thing is, so I mean, he don't have to leave. He said after the show, it could be all right. This part is over. Bam, I'm gonna shoot you. The bottom line is what he's saying is you can be honest with a person, but still be operating immorally. Like I could be honest, say I'm gonna go rob this bank. I'm not acting morally. And Marcus brought up a point. It's based on what society views, right? The social norms of what's considered ethical, what's considered righteous, what's considered right, what's considered wrong, those things. So, when you're looking at it from that perspective, from society wise, in terms of some of our basis is, like you said, depending on the religion you are, but even if you're Muslim, having chastity is something that's expected of both men and women.
Right.
In Christianity, chastity is something that's expected in both men and women, right? So if those are the societal foundations of what's right and wrong, right? And you're operating against that, then that still does not make you righteous just because you're honest.
So
those
going
are different things. Because if that didn't matter, then body count, as much as y'all talk about body count, that wouldn't matter. And the reason I say that is because the difference is society says that is a problem with that. So women have to operate along those lines to be judged a certain way. But now y'all trying to say we're all two consenting adults. It don't matter. I'm being honest. Like all of those things. You're being honest, but you're not operating righteously.
So two things, and going back to the bank robbery thing. If you said you're going to rob a bank or whatever, the legend of Robin Hood, from the perspective of the poor, he was an extremely righteous person. From the perspective of the people that own the bank, of course, it was the complete opposite. You know what I'm saying? So
back one example with you too, Dr. Kevorkian, from the perspective of his patients, when he said, "Hey, we're gonna terminate you based on your illness and the suffering," would he not be righteous by doing a service for society? Now you got it back, Viz. I just want to throw that extra one on there.
If you're judging by societal standards, then no, because there are certain laws that are in place that really they try to have laws in place to guide morality and behavior. So if according to societal standards, if helping someone commit suicide is against the law, then no, he's not operating in the way in which society expects him or her to, according to that law. Now, if it's laws that are based or immorality. Those are the ones that I think is different, because the morality aspect goes higher than man, so to speak. So when they had laws about slavery, laws about, those kind of things, those are immoral laws within itself. So you can't be wrong for operating against immoral law.
So you could argue that somebody operating that's like in severe pain and is struggling to live every single day, by you giving them euthanasia or helping them assist to no longer have that pain, you're morally doing what's right instead of letting this person suffer endlessly every single day, knowing that they terminal. I mean,
it depends on which what I would say religious doctrine you go by in that regard, because a lot of people, morality is guided by their religious doctrine, and according to any of the religious doctrine, and I'm gonna just take the main ones, which is Christianity and being Muslim or what have you, Islam, is that those two things don't coexist. You're not supposed to. So if that is your guiding light of morality, then it's still wrong.
So I'm gonna say this too, just to address, because you keep bringing up the body count thing. Men do and do not care about body counts to an extent. Men care about body counts to an extent with the woman that they choose to be in a serious relationship or potentially wife. If it's somebody that I'm just messing around with, we just dating, whatever the case may be, men, dependent on the man, won't necessarily care. And even if the woman does have a high body count, if she carries herself in a manner as to where you wouldn't even know, then it's, you know what I'm saying? It's for some men, it's a don't ask, don't tell. You know what I'm saying? If you got a high body count and I'm feeling you, I'm not even finna ask you what's your body. As a man, I'm not even finna ask a female what's their body count. In most cases, just from me looking at you and the way that you carry yourself, the way you present yourself, then I kind of have a good idea, especially with our conversations, all of that, our interactions. Then, okay, I can tell Shorty done been around. You know what I'm saying? Or no, okay, I can tell that she really ain't had too many bodies, or she's carrying herself so well that I won't even know that she done cracked, you know what I'm saying, 30 niggas or whatever. So I think that all varies on the type of man that we're talking about. But overall, is 50-50, you know, as far as with body count. But men care about body counts, but we really don't care about it to an extent.
What about when people always talk about OnlyFans chicks? Isn't that her being honest? These men know what
yeah, I mean, they exactly. So there's only going to be a certain type of man that mess with women that's on OnlyFans. The same.
Well, no, what I'm saying is, what is the hula about trying to get women off OnlyFans? If this is something they want to do, they know the what goes along with that. These men sign up for, so there's an agreement to it. So what's the issue?
What you mean? What's the issue?
So people always talk about OnlyFans girls, right?
Right.
Like almost like they trying to take them off get them off the ladder or to get them off the top of the bridge. You know, they won't jump. And the problem is these women are making a decisive decision to be on OnlyFans, and their people who are their subscribers are deciding that they want to subscribe, and these are two consensual people doing something for each other. But we have a problem with that.
I mean, I personally don't have a problem with it. If that's what you into, then that's what you into. Before OnlyFans, it was strippers. You know what I'm saying? So they're sex workers. You know what I'm saying? It's part of the culture. It's part of the economy. You know what I'm saying? This is something that has been happening since the beginning of time. So I think that maybe the conflict, as far as with women that are on OnlyFans, are the women that still want to get wifed, and it's like, no, that's not how the game works out. You know what I'm saying? Where you're going to actually get a man that's going to take you serious and that's going to wife you. You know, that's not how it works, and that's not how it ever worked. So I think if anything, that's the that's the issue that most men have with OnlyFans. Aside from that, is if you know what I'm saying, if that's how you want to put yourself out, then that's how you want to put yourself out. And then of course you're gonna have some men that want to be Captain Save 'em, and you know what I'm saying, they're gonna try and finesse her out of it or whatever, you know. But a real man, we don't give a fuck about that.
Yeah,
Well,
I
we're not talking
agree.
about dateable. So people are getting me mixed up. This has nothing to do with dateable. It's just a part of people's choices. We're talking about righteousness, right? And you're right. So it takes a righteous person to say, "Hey, I think it's bad for me to take advantage of this situation," right? Even if I just won't take advantage of the situation. I know how you feel. I got the leg up. I'm just not going to take advantage of the situation. The same goes for people in sex work, right? It has nothing to do with her being marketable and dating, because obviously she doesn't care. We're just talking about a woman who doesn't have a righteous, moral way about herself, and she just doesn't care. They're two consenting adults. Who cares?
Right.
These grown people making grown people decisions.
Right.
Yeah, I think that these are all separate things. Being moral, being honest, being righteous, these are all different things.
For sure.
Because they're based upon, what it is that your beliefs are, right? Dictates your morality, it dictates your righteousness. Because if you look at some scripture, it says none of us is righteous, and that your righteousness is as filthy rags. So even if you are being righteous, you're not necessarily better than the other person. But in all fairness, you have to understand that you being honest doesn't necessarily absolve you of the consequences of your actions. If you are honest with this person, say, "Hey, I don't want anything with you," right? And this person says, "Well, I don't want to not be in this if I'm not getting this." And you both engage in this situation, the consequences of that relationship are going to be that, just the consequences. Good, bad, indifferent. Everybody has played a part and consented into being a part of this relationship, good, bad, or indifferent. And I think that you being honest is a good thing. However, even if you're honest, like, I think that you should also be cognizant that, listen, you might not be doing a good thing. Because if I say, "Hey, honestly, I can understand that when people smoke weed and stuff like that, even though I don't, when I get stressed out, I can understand why people smoke weed." Now, that's an honest feeling. I will never smoke weed, more than likely, but I can understand the sentiment of how people feel like life is so stressful and it's just so much better to just smoke weed. I'm all right, cool, bet. And I'm honest about that. I said, listen, this person was honest with me. He told me the truth. And if I should engage with this person after they told me the truth, I mean, shoot, that was my decision. I think where a lot of brothers get up in arms about this conversation isn't just the fact that men are held to the standard that we're supposed to be the leaders and we're supposed to do the right thing regardless of these women that are supposedly getting the same messaging. Women are also supposed to be righteous and chaste and all these other things. Men are supposed to be righteous and chaste. But yet, when we have these conversations, we only hold that standard to men. Now, of course, there are people. No, we definitely hold that standard to men because we feel like men should be the leaders and that men should be doing those things. We hold a higher standard because we hold that men should be better. Just like when we say that men should never hit a woman ever, right? You're holding him to a standard to be at this level that necessarily that some women don't get that same messaging. They'd be like, listen.
But in this particular, that's because he's stronger than her. But in this particular situation,
that's irrelevant.
That's tomatoes and oranges. Listen, in this particular situation, I do not often hear men saying, "Oh, you need to watch out for her feelings before you have sex with her." How many men do you know say that to their friends?
But men ain't thinking about feelings when they're messing around with women. They thinking about the act.
Well, it's the difference. I do think men are held on a higher standard when it comes to, like what you said, the being physical with a woman in terms of hitting or whatever. But it's the opposite. More of the, I would say, more of that pressure of being morally right falls on a woman when it comes to sex. That it is the total opposite. Y'all are giving more that leadership in that regard to physical violence. For women, it's really about making sure that we make sure y'all don't have sex with us. We have to take ownership in that, regardless if we want to or don't. More of that ownership is placed on women than it is men when it comes to sex. If we want to be honest,
women hold the key to sex. So of course, now
right, but
and
that they're held to the same stand that they're not. You just said they hold the key, so they have a higher. They're held to a higher standard than men with sex. So that's all she was saying. Was what he was saying was incorrect because of that.
And going to the men, to women, to men not hitting women, I 100% agree with that. Now, in my years of bouncing, I've watched multiple women literally try to go toe to toe with men. I've even worked with a guy that was at a club breaking up a fight. He was bouncing. He's breaking up a fight, and a chick walks up to him with her heel and hits him in the eye with it. He loses his eye. I've seen women literally smack the glasses off of men. I've had women try to go toe to toe with me. You know what I'm saying? So it's I agree with it, but at the same time, I won't allow myself to be a victim. So you're not just finna, you know what I'm saying? You're not just finna hit me. So as the old saying goes, in all of these situations, if you make your bed, you got to lay in that motherfucker. So if you're tough enough to stand toe to toe with a man, knowing that this man is bigger, stronger, so on and so forth, then if he hits you because you hit him, then to every action is a reaction. That's the law of the universe. So
Yeah, so that's why I
That
say
wasn't the
it's
subject,
irrelevant. Well, that's why I say it's irrelevant when women bring up, "Oh, he's stronger than you." So that's the reason why they would say that. No, they just think that there's no reason why you should be putting your hands on a woman because it's not morally right for you to hit women. But if you're going to defend that woman from another guy, it's perfectly fine. And I just think that it's completely irrelevant that women keep bringing up that he's stronger than you. That's the reason why you should never put your hands on a woman. There are women that are bench pressing, squatting more than men.
One, this is not the subject we're on. I have no idea how we got here.
But I don't think
we
we've
don't
ever said that on this
women
show.
or men hitting each other.
Right.
So can we please go back? This is what I'm talking about. Y'all moving into a subject somewhere totally different. Can we stick to what we're talking about right now? And right now, what we're talking about is the righteousness, the moral on what you can control as a man as it relates to sex. And as we stated, most of the responsibility of having standards is placed on the female, not the man. Can we all agree on
that?
Yeah. Okay.
No.
You just saying no just to say no.
No, I'm not, because even in a conversation that we just had, we're talking about the standard of how men or women, they're held to different standards. So even
we're talking about in a particular subject, not because we can go down to 10. There's so many.
He specifically said about sex, and even AP, he said men are held to a higher standard, a much higher accountability in all things. So my thing is, again, he's being very broad, but what you're doing is you're being very specific. We're specifically talking about sex.
Okay, I want to just bring this perspective because I'm somebody echoing. I don't know who it is.
Let me mute mine.
But when I was growing up, right, I was encouraged, and the standard was set that I should be able to have had sex by a certain age, and it was set that I should be able to get multiple women. Like my cultural standard for the neighborhood area and my peer group and a lot of the older men that I was around had that standard that if you were gonna be him, then you had to have these type of have women, right? If I did not, then I would have been culturally shunned being a lame or not being able to get no uchi, right? And if I can't get no uchi, then does that make me righteous because I'm not being able to get no uchi, or am I righteous because I lived up to the standards of what my cultural group set as what was the moral thing to do? Now, it may not be moral in the sense of when you think about it from a religious context, but when I was looking up morality, it was like the common standards and practices of a recognized group. Most are informed by religious context, but like, so snitching, right? Is snitching a righteous thing to do, or is it an unrighteous thing to do? I think if you take it out of the Black community, it's righteous to tell on people. But specifically within our community and the subsets of the communities that we come from, it creates an extreme unrighteousness thing. And you, by doing that, you become one of the lowliest of people because you're telling on your friends and family and doing all that stuff. So
it's in culture. It's in other cultures.
That's a difference. Snitching is different from telling on somebody. Snitching is a subculture. So if you're involved in illegal activities and you are a person that's involved in those illegal activities,
right,
then the rules are different for you. Yeah, you're not supposed to snitch. Right. But if I happen to live in a neighborhood that you're selling drugs and shooting people up, I'm not snitching. It's my moral obligation for my safety, protecting my family, to tell on you. Those are two different things.
So by that standard, then men who have a different sexual prerogative or a different sexual moral code would be moving righteous by operating within that code. Because we have a different standard.
I agree, but you're leaving out the other aspects of righteousness. So honesty in and of itself is one thing. Honesty is I'm just being direct. Is a communication skill. I'm being honest. I'm being truthful and transparent about what I'm communicating my behavior to be or what it is that I want. Whereas righteousness, it encompasses more than just honesty. And that's what I'm saying. So righteousness is a broader concept of other aspects. So yes, you have the morality piece, you have the honesty piece, but you also have the integrity piece. You also have the ethical piece. You also have the fairness and the, equality, the compassion, being responsible. All of those pieces fall under the idea of righteousness, not just honesty. And I think that's where we're being thrown off at, is the honesty. Well, I'm being honest, so it's up to the other person to accept my honesty or not. I don't disagree with that. I agree with that with that sentiment about I'm being honest and direct about what it is I'm looking for. And if that's not in alignment with what you want, then it is on that person to walk away from that if they know that that's not what they want. So I'm not taking the ownership off of them and their reaction, but what I'm doing is focusing on when we brought up the righteous part. The righteous part has nothing to do with the other person. The honesty part does, because the honesty part involves the communication of what it is that you want, where you're giving that person the free will to either move forward or not. So in that regard, that's not the issue. The righteous part
it's one of y'all too, because all us on mute, and it's one of y'all too. But mistaken. So I'm looking at the definition of righteousness, right? Mm-hmm. And the definition changes when you go from Christianity to Islam, but then there's an overarching righteousness. So like with Islam would be prayer, alms, honor and agreements, patience, believing in God, believing in the last day, believing in angels, believing in the book, believing in the prophets, giving wealth to the needy, orphans, and relatives. But it changes to what the specific subset will be for Christianity too. But the other examples of righteousness is kindness, justice in dealing, consideration and endeavor. It's still echoing. You probably got to hit mute, Viz. That might be you. Justice in dealings, consideration and endeavors, being generous and offering help, behavior with courtesy and sympathy, true fidelity, sincerity towards God Almighty, constantly seeking occasions of benefit of service. So I think you can be a good, like if you're having casual sex with somebody that's consensual, you still can do all of those things unless you're using a religious text as the definition of righteousness. And that has more so to do with worshiping God than it does with your interaction with people on a basic level. Now, being good to them is part of that, but it don't necessarily mean you being bad to them because y'all engaging in consensual sex. I feel like that's a conflation. The way you're making that
The
scene.
bad part is what Shan was saying, is if your intentions and her expectations don't align. So even though you're communicating in honesty and saying that, yo, I just want to, have sex with you and nothing else, but she's communicating to you in the regard of, well, if I have sex with you, then that means we're in a relationship, because I only have sex with people in a relationship, and that's what I want to do. So in that regard, both of y'all are being honest, because you are clearly communicating what you want from the other person. Now the righteous part comes in on really both of y'all. So if she listened to what you were saying, the righteous part would be for her to, you know what, I'm gonna stand in my belief, I'm gonna stand in my standards, my morality. This is how I feel. He made it clear to me that he doesn't, want me for, he just wants me for sex. So it's on her to uphold that, right, and walk away. But that's on her. Now on you, the righteous part would be, she's communicated to me that she really wants to be in a relationship, and if she sleeps with me, for her, that means she's in a relationship. And you
Now
still
that's different.
no, and
That's
he's
different.
no, and you
Yeah,
still
you kind of moved the story though, mistaken. That's what he's
no.
saying.
I'm
That's
saying based
completely
on
different. You just said if
hold
no,
on,
you
let me
just
finish.
said
Let me finish. Based on what Shan said if the girl communicated to you that she wanted a relationship,
Yes, right.
and he still moves forward to have sex with her, then in that regard, he's not moving in righteousness. Both of them are moving in honesty, because they communicated to each other what they're looking for. Now, after the honesty comes the righteousness. Either she walks away on her own righteous morality belief, or he says, you know what? I made it clear that I only wanted her for sex, but she's told me, she's made it clear that she wants a relationship. So it's on me at that point to walk away, because I don't want to confuse the situation, because I know she wants a relationship. That's
I think they're both moving off of the implying. So I told him what I wanted, and he continued to deal with me. Well, I've told her what I wanted, and she continued to deal with me. So they're both going in.
that's the only way they're gonna have sex.
Yeah, but it is make it righteous. Okay, so I'm glad that you guys did it. So because it moves us to the next topic. So what happens if a girl says, I want kids, and you say you don't? And then you sleep with her, and then she gets pregnant.
Then that's on the guy. That's on both of them. Still, that's still on both of them. Like I don't understand how is no accountability or for both parts. Like if a woman says, all right, I want kids, and the guy says, I don't want kids, and the woman allows for the man to have raw sex with her
because she wants kids.
But he said he doesn't want kids.
But she wants kids. He went wrong in a woman. He went wrong in a woman he knew wants kids.
Crazy.
That's not dumb to you.
That logic is insane. And that's probably why we have so many baby mamas now. If the man
that's why you have a baby mama. It's because she told you if a woman tells you she wants kids and you go in her raw when she says she wants kids, you don't think you're that's your fault?
It's on both parties.
Isn't it amazing how it's on both? Wait. Isn't it amazing how righteousness switches up when
I've been saying this on both parties.
It's the same situation.
It's not like somebody dodging accountability.
You held the woman in the last example is on her because he was honest. He told her what it was about. So it's on her. Now in this situation, she's totally honest with him. And now you're saying it's on both of them.
Listen to this.
On the
Let me say this, Viz.
on the last one, I literally said that it's on both parties. That's been my argument this entire time. Now, again, if the woman, if the guy says, I don't want any kids, right? And the woman says she does want kids, and they both engage in raw, unprotected sex, it's on both parties.
Right. So what I'm saying to you is she got what she wanted. She told you she wanted kids. It only works in your favor, what you're saying. If she says, oh my God, I got pregnant, I don't want this kid, let's get rid of it. But you just gave her what she wanted. And you're mad because she kept it when she told you that's what she wanted.
Yeah, I agree with y'all. It's on him,
man.
It's on him. Because it's on him. Because what seems like it's happening in a situation where the woman wants a relationship and the man doesn't want to give it, but he receives the sex. It would seem like robbery because it wasn't fair exchange, but she entered into the agreement knowing that she wasn't going. That's like if you go work a job and they tell you, I'm only paying you $1 to do this job, and you work hard for a whole 24 hours and they pay you $1. You can't then be mad at them for paying you $1. You agreed to that. It go both ways. You knew that's what she wanted when you agreed to come in there. You didn't want to do that, but you agreed to come work the job. You agreed to busting her. When you came in her raw, knowing that she wanted kids, that's on you, blood. That's on you, so that's on you.
Yeah, I think it's two different things to say that he can definitely be mad about it.
That's two different things.
But you definitely agreed to those terms.
Now you see what we're saying, how stuff. You can't have a honest conversation. You can't have a true conversations where you're looking completely at both sides. This is what we were talking about earlier about emotional, the emotional maturity, being able to understand.
What does this have to do with emotional intelligence?
No, I'm talking about, remember when we were talking about backstage and they were saying the different signs of emotional maturity? And one of those things that I pointed out was the fact that you're able to see, you're upside down, Shan, that you're able to fix it. That everything is not black and white. You're able to see both perspectives. And the other part is to understand that you are going to be biased based on your worldview and experiences of certain things. So my thing is take yourself out of it. You have to take yourself out of it.
I'm not even looking at it from
in order to truly see that it's the same scenario. I mean, the same situation, different.
Let me give you another scenario, Viz. Let me give you another one. So
yeah, because a woman tells you
a woman tell you she HIV positive, and you tell her absolutely do not want HIV. Yet you go and have sex with her raw and you get HIV. Who fault was that?
That's his fault.
Why?
What you mean? Why?
Why is it his fault?
Because she told him that that's what she was. So, with the baby situation or example, if I'm trying to think of the best way to word this, because I understand what you're saying. I see what you're doing. I still think in that case, I think that is different because we're about to have sex and I tell you, hey, I'm HIV positive or whatever. And the guy says, oh, okay, I don't want it. She's being transparent. Of course, that falls on him if he gets it. But I feel like the situation is different between the two, though.
Okay,
I feel like it's a completely different scenario.
It's not different, but I still agree that here's how I break this down. So I'm saying here's how I break this down. You can still say you can split it up to individual responsibility. You can split it up to both being responsible. You can do it either way, because if the scenario of that she has HIV, she tells him that she has HIV, right? And he's like, I don't want HIV. If he decides to sleep with that woman, right? he has signed up to getting HIV, but she has
Right.
also
For sure.
signed up to giving him HIV. So you
Right.
both play a hand in this situation. She's more the criminal at this point because she is giving him something that you can't just give somebody something that's HIV. Like you, that's just dumb. That's like saying that, hey, I am going to rob you, right? And because I told you that I'm going to rob you, that doesn't make you not a criminal. You're
Wait,
still a criminal,
didn't
even
we
though you
just
are
say
honest
that
about
in
it.
the last segment where the guy said, if I'm on this show and I tell you at the end of the show, I'm gonna be honest and I'm gonna say I'm gonna rob you. The
Right.
response that y'all said was the dude is stupid if he gonna stay there.
He's still
Right.
stupid, but the dude is still a
So it's
criminal.
the same situation.
No,
How
no,
are you
no, 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 no,
blaming
no, no,
saying that
no,
it's
no,
on
no,
the
no, 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 no,
woman?
no. Hold on for a quick second.
Well, no,
He's still
right, because I
stupid for staying around to get robbed. But guess what? That dude is still a criminal because he robbing him. That's what I'm saying. That's what
wait.
I'm saying.
He's
You
not
can
acting.
make it separate. You
You're
can
right.
make
So
it
he's not
together.
being
But in
righteous.
reality,
He's not
he's stupid for staying around the dude that said he was going to rob him. But this dude is
Right.
still
So
a criminal because he was honest about going to rob him and he continued to rob him. So criminal, robber, and stupid person for getting robbed by a guy that said he was going to rob him. That's what I'm saying. So that's why I said you can actually split it both ways. You can say, hey, this person is more responsible for this. You can say that they're both responsible because they engage in the activity. But in specifically the case that she said that she want to have a kid, and the guy said that he don't want to have a kid, he has now signed up for having kid with this woman who said that she's having a kid. But she also
right.
knows that he don't want to have a kid. So why does she want to have sex with a guy that does not want to have a kid? Vice versa. Why does he want to have sex with a woman who wants a kid when he doesn't want a kid? The answer is because both people want what they want when they want it. He want to have sex, she want to have a child by having sex, and this is the reason why we got the situation that we got.
No, I think it's trying to
I think maybe
avoid
in my
consequences.
head when I'm hearing these things is I'm comparing the extremes of it. Uh, if a female says again that she want to have a kid, the guy doesn't, she get pregnant. I would say that is on both of them. Of course, it's the guy's fault because he cracked the raw, and the chick allowed him to crack. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's a mutual thing there. As far as with the HIV thing, I think that with that being such an extreme, you know what I'm saying, it's like, well, this is clearly his fault because she told him and he still went about it and did it. You know, I don't if that makes sense. I don't. It's just
She clearly told him that she wanted a child, and he still went forward and did it. It's the same
right.
exact scenario. If you substitute HIV for baby, hey, I want to have a baby. Hey, I'm HIV positive. If the result of you having sex with me raw will more than likely result in you getting HIV, his fault. The result of you having sex with me raw will more than likely result in me getting pregnant, his
Right,
fault.
right. No, I'm with you. I agree. Let's be fair here. I never said that it wasn't the guy's fault. I never said that.
Yeah, you said it's the girl's fault.
No, I didn't say it was the girl's fault. I said it was both.
No, he said it was
I
both,
said it
but
was
I
both.
think,
I've
but
been saying that
but
this entire time. I said it was both.
He did say, he followed it up with, but it's mostly the girl's fault. Am I lying?
right. But I think that the problem in
Oh.
the situation is, and I wish I could turn my camera on, but I'll be upside down. But I think the problem is what we're figuring out is she wants a kid. So for her to feel bad about something she wants, just like he wanted sex, that's you're sitting here having a battle, and the person just got what they want. He wanted sex, he got it. Okay, she wanted a kid, she got it. You're asking the person who wanted to feel bad about it, and neither are trying to feel bad about the situation. You have to be righteous to feel bad about the situation.
Then hold on, but that the righteousness comes into example because if her set of standards is that she does not agree with abortion, she doesn't even have a choice because the righteousness stops in and stops her from being able to get the abortion.
Or she could just not have sex. See, and that's the other thing.
Or he could just put a condom on. What are we talking about here?
I mean, or that's an option too, but nobody's bringing those options up when we be having these conversations. Like, we got all of these forms of preventing children from being born. We got all the things, but yet all those things magically disappear, and then this child shows up, and now people are like, oh, what are we gonna do?
Well, the problem is
to have a baby. I'm not gonna use any of those things.
Right, she wants the baby, so now it's up to the person
gonna be on birth control
the baby.
I'm not going to convince you to put a condom on. I'm not going to do any of those things because my ultimate goal is to have your child.
Baby.
Listen,
so on that end, it totally falls on the man if she's completely honest about that, and he knows beyond a reasonable doubt he does not want to have any children, then the accountability factor does fall on him.
So, okay. Listen, I want to break this down again. So, if a woman knows that a man does not want to have a child, but she wants a child, right? To me, if she has this information that says that he does not want to have a child, right? To me, even though he is ignorant and dumb to sleep with this woman when he doesn't want to have a child, right? I agree. That's dumb. But also, it is somewhat criminal that she is willing to sit here and have a child with a guy who clearly says he does not want to have a child. When you talk about morality and righteousness, right? There's a scripture that comes to mind, right? It says, when somebody asks for a fish, are you going to give them a snake? Okay. In reality, what's that saying is why are you trying to give something to somebody that they're not asking for? They're not asking. This person is asking for a child. This person is not. And you're willing to give something to this person knowing that that's not what they want, right? And you both engage in this thing, the consequences be as they may. So I don't have an issue with separating each individual person's case. She is having sex with a man that don't want a child with her. He's having sex with a woman raw when he claimed he don't want to have a child. Even though he don't want to have a child, he is engaging in a process that creates a child with a woman he don't want to have a child with. So that's dumb on his
mutual
part.
repercussions from it. And I think that's the part
that's dumb on his part.
Both of them are going to deal with the consequences of that. The problem, the issue that I think we're having is the fact that is a level of trying to, like how y'all, it is amazing how the accountability changes when the scenario changes, even though the scenario is very similar, because we're looking at the underlying message of what we're saying is honesty and being righteous, right? So in both of those scenarios, people were honest, but they weren't being righteous in both scenarios. In this situation, with the woman is being honest and clearly saying, I want to have your baby. I want to have a child. And you're saying as a dude, no, I don't want to have any children. At that point, both party interests are clear. So now you're asking people to act in a righteous state after we've gotten the honesty out the way. The bottom line, though, is that both of them are going to end up with consequences. So in that first scenario, she's going to end up with the consequence of just getting her back blown out and not getting the relationship that she wanted because she still made the decision to move forward. In this situation, he's going to end up in a situation where he's going to have a baby because he still moved forward even though he was given the information. Now
and he's going to have a bastard child.
that's what I was going to say. The consequence to both of them is this: she may end up being a single parent, doing everything 100% on her own, because he clearly told her, I did not want a child. You had a child. That does not mean I'm going to be a father. Right. So she's taking the risks.
He never said that, though. Let's just be clear.
Right. That's the consequence of hers moving forward.
I mean, but that's the only thing that we can assume, though.
Then on the flip side, his consequence can be, okay, that's fine, but I'm going to take you to court for child support. Both of them are going to end up with consequences that neither probably wanted. She wanted the child, but wasn't thinking long term. She may have thought, if I have his child, it's going to force him to be responsible, and is not.
I think what shaped my viewpoint on this is jumping off the porch. When I jumped off the porch, I understood one thing. When I'm interacting and engaging in activities that could land me in jail, whatever happens from this point forward is on me. So that's kind of how I view all of these scenarios. I know the consequence. I still chose to do this, knowing the consequence. Whatever happens, if it doesn't go, when everybody that rob a bank, nobody wants to go to jail. But the consequence of that, if you get caught, is going to jail. You roll the snake eyes. So when I think about this stuff, I think about it from that perspective. Whatever consequence come down, you can't complain about it, because that's how you turn into a snitch. Because you don't want to accept your consequences, and you try and push them off on somebody else, but you can't.
Right.
You got to own that. I got to sit down.
And again, that's why I kept saying that I feel like it's on both sides, but I still feel that it's kind of a different scenarios. In the first scenario, you got two people. The only way that they would actually have sex is if they both consented to it, right? In the second scenario, you have a man, a woman, one wants a baby, one doesn't. They engage. In my opinion, it's still on both parties, because as we stated, we're going to have one person that's going to now have a baby that she's probably going to have to take care of on her own. And then you have a guy that's not going to essentially be there. And then the drastic of a chick saying, hey, I got HIV, and the guy saying, oh, I don't want that, but I still engage in sex with her, then that's a completely different scenario to me in my brain, because yes, everybody is accountable in it, but in the last scenario, there's no real accountability necessarily for the chick, because she said this is what it is, and if you want to engage into it still, then you're gonna have to pay the consequences of it. So I think that it's different.
So would you liken the consequences? So we'll take the baby, that example out of it. Let's take that example, right? What is the true consequence in the first scenario, other than the consequence to the woman is the fact that she didn't get the relationship, right? So she ended up with the consequence of her engaging in sex, knowing that she wasn't getting what she wanted, right? So in that situation, the only consequence fell on her, right? The dude got what he wanted, which he made it clear. Only thing I want from you is sex.
The consequence falls on both of them, because what's
the consequence for him?
So the consequence for him, in any man that has engaged into this, if you go in and have sex with a chick that wants to be in a relationship with you, and you fuck her anyway, then 9 out of 10, you're going to now have to deal with a very angry and spiteful woman, and whatever consequences come with that, you just going to have to deal with it. She might, just let you
right now. You're being very hypothetical now.
That's not being hypothetical. That's being real.
But there are some chicks who want the relationship, got dick down, didn't get the relationship, and was like, damn. and they had to deal with the consequences because it didn't work out the way that they wanted, and they move on. So
You know
that's
what?
hypothetical. In this situation, if we look strictly at the facts as they are, the girl communicated she wanted the relationship. The guy communicated he just wanted sex. He gave her the choice because he was honest. I only want sex, and that's it. She still takes a chance and have sex with him. The consequence falls on because he was clear about, I don't want the relationship, and he acted on that. I still don't want the relationship. So she suffers the consequence of that. Now, when we move into the age,
stay on that example. No, stay on that example because you got to add one context. If she was extremely mad about it and saying mad about the consequence of her not getting a relationship, you know what the result would be? Her saying, you know what, you took this from me. You took this sex from me. Now this becomes great. If we want to play the shrug off a consequences thing, so it's dangerous to play with it like that.
That's what I'm saying.
It could be, but what I'm saying is just stay in the facts as they listen. I'm just saying stay in the facts as they are, because right now we're moving into hypotheticals. Just stay in the facts as they are. He said, I just want to smash. She said, I want a relationship. He smashed. She didn't get the relationship. That was the consequence. In this situation, she said, I have HIV. He said, I don't want HIV. He smashes, no condom, gets HIV. That's his consequence. So in both scenarios, just looking at the facts as they are, not hypotheticals, only one party suffered the consequence. The female suffered the consequence in the first scenario because she didn't get the relationship. He suffered the consequence of catching HIV because he didn't wear a condom. Right. And he chose to smash raw. So it's the same situation, is what I'm saying. The underlying issue is exactly the same. The behaviors are different, the scenarios are a little different, but the theme of the situation is exactly the same.
Right. And can I add on another part, something that Marcus stated earlier, because I know that Marcus stated, when you grow up, you grew up and it was praised that you got sex. It made you a man, right? Or something of that sort, right? It was like it was like when you finally did that, it was a badge of honor or whatever, because society placed that on you. Our culture does that. When it comes to her, our culture, whether we like it or not, has accepted the fact that single parenthood is normal, right? Even though this woman is not African American, it's a culture nowadays that it's okay to be a single mom. So it's almost the same thing. Neither one of them is right. We can say that they're not right. Absolutely, they are not right. But culture says it's okay on both scenarios.
Yeah, so I will concede that when we have these conversations, right, whether it's you got in a relationship with somebody that you shouldn't have got a relationship with, you got a kid from somebody that you shouldn't have a kid by, and all these things, I think that the best case scenario, the best case consequence is when people are operating on a above standard morality and righteousness. Because if you're talking to a person that claims that they don't want children and you want children, why try to get a child out of that person?
Absolutely.
I think that makes reasonable sense, right? Say, for instance, if this guy say he don't want a relationship, you say you do want a relationship, and you engage with this guy, and you still don't get the relationship. Listen, you could have just went to go find somebody that wanted a relationship like you want a relationship. I think the high moral standard or above reproach kind of approach would be a lot better in these situations. But in reality, most people don't do that because we have the freedom to do what we want, right? And that the fact of the matter is, specifically to Fresh, or what's his name, Walter, right? He willingly had sex with this woman raw. She may or may not be pregnant by him. She may not. It may be a real baby. It might not be. It might be his. It might be somebody else's. He has put himself in a nasty situation. He's put his brand, his business, his partner, he put other men like him on notice, other women like her. This whole situation affects everybody who's involved, plus other people that's not involved. All because he decided that he wanted to have sex with this woman raw. And now it's a situation that has spiraled out of his control. And the only thing we can do is wait for the results to come out to see if A, it is his child, B, if it's not his child, C, see if this whole thing blows up in a crazy way, or D, everybody go mind their business and let him deal with it.
Look, Hov did that, so hopefully you don't have to go through that. Look, he an example for these men to understand what they shouldn't be doing. And another thing that we not counting is I read the text message that she released, and dude was sending her pictures of blazing kids, talking about this is how our kids gonna look.
Yes, he pumped her up. It's dudes out here who do that.
Oh,
He was
yeah,
feeding her
that's on him
dreams.
then.
Yeah, he gotta own that.
Yeah, no, that's on.
He had
that's
an
on
interview, and she stated he would talk about having a family. He really really gave her that little, in a woman's head. She's like, oh, okay.
But was he showing her what as y'all say, show me, don't tell me, show me. Was he showing her that as well?
He did. He showed his nut showed up in her vagina, and he showed her real.
And she was hanging out. She was hanging out for it. She was hanging out with his mom. She was taking his mom shot.
He was playing. He playing with fire then.
Yeah,
he do that with all the girls he be messing with. See, and this is the thing, like and this is why I say it's a dumb situation on both sides. He do that with all the women. A lot of women that met his mama. He didn't went to Barbados with a white chick. That chick, like, yo, listen. In all actuality, listen. Like, y'all grown. Y'all should have handled this somewhere else. Y'all shouldn't have brought this situation public. But because you want to make a spectacle out of this guy for some reason, right? I mean, hey, listen, do what you want to do. But in reality, this shouldn't have been public. This should have been off to the side. This should have been handled in closed quarters. And y'all should have dealt with this without this being public. But because he supposedly got money, right? And that that there's going to be hopefully a payday at the end of the day, or you're going to at least make him look bad for the situation not going the way that you want it, right? So she has all the things to gain from this situation going south for him, right? And he has all the things to lose from dealing with this woman the way that he was dealing with him. And the reality is it's dumb.
They both
This was not a fresh move. This was
so at the end of the day,
moral of the story is choose better. On to the next topic.
So my point is,
wrap it up. If you're gonna move like that, just wrap it up.
No, the moral of a story: don't be having sex with women you don't want to have sex with. You don't want to.
That's number one.
So listen, I think that everything that Aishi said is correct. I think that at the end of the day, you're expecting her to have a higher, more standard, and she's shown you probably plenty of times that she's not that chick. She don't even look like she's that chick. Okay, so it's not like she was hiding something, like she was the nun of, and it's like, I can't believe she did that to me. She looks like she would do that to you. So you just went right into it. You got a chick who's on your panel. These women freely talk about sex. They freely talk about how they ain't shit. And you went and had sex with a woman who freely has shown that she ain't shit.
Yeah, no, dude is goofy. I don't know who y'all talking about, but dude is goofy though.
Shan, turn on your camera, and I'm gonna see if this will help you fix it.
Okay.
All right. So you see at the bottom where it says settings? You see where it says settings? Click on it. And it says front camera, right? When it says camera?
It just says camera.
Okay. When you click the drop down, what does it say?
No drop down.
It should
I don't
be.
have a. I don't have a drop down.
So when you
Are
click
you
on,
doing this off your phone?
No, this is a computer.
so when you open up the settings that's on,
I see camera, but there's no drop down to camera.
Okay, do you see something that says mirror my camera?
Mm-hmm. That's
Is
what it
that
gave me.
checked?
Yeah, I just checked it, and now it's unchecked. That's all they did.
Just exit out and then jump back into the stream.
Yeah.
But will it close her off?
Okay, let me
Yeah.
do that. Let me just try that.
If
I'm gonna
she's
try that.
muted?
I'm gonna try that, Marky Mark.
That
Is it
worst
gonna
case scenario,
kick all
there's
of us
probably an
off?
arrow that's like a half right turn looking thing that can probably rotate her picture upside down.
That's what I was trying to see if she had that on the settings to see if she had like the drop down.
You know what you should have did? You should have called her.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, show me your screen, girl.
There we go.
Or the
Okay.
simple solution: exit and come back.
All right, let's move on to the
That's what
next
male
topic.
leadership do. Solutions.
Listen, my man is full.
Now we're going to go into the actual conversation, but I'm glad you read those texts because I saw an interview just because she doesn't say it in this video, but I did see an interview and she was talking about how he was talking to her about family and just really feeding her with these.
Come on, do the goofy. Let's move on.
Okay. So the video is the actual conversation. Okay. Once I find it. Once I find it, once I find it.
I want the baby because I don't want to kill the baby. I don't want to kill nobody. I don't want to.
You're not. They just give you a pill and then it's over.
No. I'm pregnant.
No, but that's what I'm saying. The pill, they just give it to you from a doctor and then you're good.
I am pregnant. I can't pretending like nothing happened. I can't. In my religion, we don't kill.
You're not. Okay.
I want to keep the baby.
Okay. Well, like I said, I just don't want any kids. You know?
Okay, so what you gonna do? And what you gonna do to me?
Nothing. Well, why did I do anything to you?
Nothing?
Why did I do anything to you?
No, I know. So like, how are you gonna deal with this? By saying I don't want a baby? That's all?
I mean, I could go to the doctor, I guess.
To the doctor. So you want a abortion?
I mean, yeah. Why do you want a kid now?
And why do you make me pregnant now?
That's I'm like, there's no way that's true. But then I said, oh wow, like.
So just think about it. It's meant to be. God
Sorry?
wants you to have the baby.
Definitely not.
It is. God wants you to have a baby. 7 years never happened, and then you're you're f***ing me for a month, and I'm pregnant. What does that mean?
Well,
now I just think about it, if you force me to the baby, then you're a sin.
Well, we already sinned by having sex, but it's too late now, you know. But honestly,
Let me just say this though, before we get it all fresh, I think he handled that. He was very nice. He wasn't disrespectful.
That nigga
And
is
I wanna
lame.
commend him for that.
Dude
was
is
not
a
mean at all.
full-blown lame. I've seen one podcast with him on it, and he had said something to one of the girls, and it was like, yeah, dude is a super duper lame. Like he and just off of that conversation and just how she was talking to him, it really almost sounded like she's setting him up. You know what I'm saying? Like she really
she's
like
recording it. What else is she doing?
yeah, no, she definitely, you know what I'm saying? Like it gotta be something more to it. But dude is a super duper lame. he probably can't get any girls outside of that scene, and he sees these easy girls come in, you know what I'm saying? And hey, shit, they coming in, they going, I'm gonna slang some dick to him, and you know what I'm saying? And now he caught up.
She definitely was setting him up. I think this was her plan from the very beginning. I think
Definitely
she
up
a trifling, antagonizing woman. I think that she was hoping he would threaten her. I get the feeling
Right.
she hoped that he would threaten her,
right.
so she
That's why
painted
she
him to be a
recorded.
worse guy than he actually is. I think
And you know what I think too, Marcus? I think that when he said, well, you guess you got to go to the hospital. I think she brought it back to the abortion, but I think he was saying, okay, now, I mean, you got to go because when you have a kid, you got to go to the hospital, get yourself checked out. But then she was like, what, you want an abortion? And of course he's going to say, yeah, but I don't think that was what he was referring to, where he told her, well, what's next? He said, well, you need to go to the doctor.
This isn't her first rodeo.
It's
No,
not.
And I also don't believe her.
First rodeo.
For some reason, I think she staged this whole thing to get social media attention.
For sure.
And
It don't sound
might not be
authentic at
pregnant.
all.
And she was trying to get a viral moment out of him blowing up and making it even worse. She's done interviews. She's been posting the receipts. She's doing all of this to embarrass him. I think I personally do not think she's a good woman, right?
But she was that person before.
However,
this is just another. So my understanding was she not a person in his on his panel at one point?
Had to be.
Right. So she was that person anyway. Anybody who is sitting in front of Fresh and Fit is looking for clout in some type of way. Who would do that? So we know that that's her. So that's not even, shouldn't be up for debate. She's definitely looking for attention. She recorded a phone call, an intimate phone call about you having a kid. He didn't probably even know he was being recorded. And then you put it probably immediately on social media. And like you said, you made yourself available to so many podcasters to come freely and speak about this man.
And then made it a point to say, so what you gonna do to me? So she was egging him to try to say something. Right.
But it's still his fault though. With all that said and all this about her, putting himself in that situation is still his fault.
Yeah, no, that's 100%.
He seems like a terrible person, honestly.
That's 100% his fault. And I wouldn't doubt if in 4 to 5 months she claims she have a miscarriage or some shit.
But my whole thing is no, because this is long term. That's long term for her. Because right now,
no, he's saying
sometimes do this trick where they tell you they pregnant, they don't actually be pregnant. And you be like, all right, well, she pregnant now, so you start busting in her raw and actually get her pregnant. But if you're not hip to the game,
that's some devious. That's some devious.
People do that. People do.
No, they definitely do that. But no, I agree. I think she saw, because it's definitely not her first rodeo. I think she saw the opportunity of this nigga being a lame. Somebody, I wouldn't even doubt it if somebody put her up to it.
No, I think she did.
I don't think nobody had to put her up to that. She was fully
you never know.
She got coached by some other women.
You never know.
If she don't got a pimp she mess with, she could have got coached by another woman on how to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
If for 7 years he was doing something right, either he had enough pull to get other women to have abortions if he ended up getting somebody pregnant, or he was moving the right way to not get somebody pregnant in 7 years. You cannot tell me that in 1 month, because she said in 1 month you got me pregnant.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying though. That like it sounds fake for her to even say that. You know what I'm saying? Like for her to say that, to point that out, that means that this is the game plan that I came up with. Absolutely. You was pillow talking with me, saying that you've been doing this for 7 years. Nothing ever happened, and now you was with me, and all of a sudden a month, you know what I'm saying, and now I'm like, come on, man. No, I think
would that not be considered if he did find her to be not pregnant and to know that it was a lie? Would that not be like slander or defamation?
That shit don't happen to women.
Can sue her though, right?
But under those laws, like slander and defamation. Possibly.
Not necessarily. Not
you're lying
necessarily
on
because she's not necessarily slandering his character. See with the
I see what you're saying.
with the recordings, you know what I'm saying? That is illegal in certain states. You can't record somebody a conversation without their knowledge. So that could bite her in the ass.
Well, in Georgia, you can, but let's
It's a
look at
one-party state. So if you're
And-
the one party that know you're recording, it is legal.
But
Georgia.
due to HIPAA laws, she could say she had a miscarriage, it not be true, and go about her business because there's
Well,
no way.
the thing about it is, even if she had a miscarriage, if she went to him and she got a blood test, right, it's gonna still show up as positive, even with a miscarriage. It takes a while for that to get out of your system.
My point is, if she's lying and she's not pregnant at all, it's no way for him to know because you can't compel her to give you those results because she has confidentiality laws for her health care.
Wait, but if he sues her, isn't that attorney like privilege in terms of some of the legal documentation that they would have access to?
Yeah, they're definitely
HIPAA
suing
protects
her,
her.
and
It protects her
bring up the
confidentiality
fact-
on medical treatment. They can't compel her to get a treatment. They can't compel her or force her to give up information without like. So if it was like a felony murder,
So this is check this out. Check this out though. He lives in Florida. If I'm not mistaken, he lives in Miami. Correct? They film in Miami. So what she has done is illegal. If he was indeed in Miami and she recorded, Florida is not like Georgia. Georgia is one party. Florida is two party. So she had to have had his permission to record him.
Right.
So that in itself is a lawsuit.
The professor, said she was not in Florida when she made the recording. She was in New York. And yeah, New York is like Georgia, is a one-party state.
So she was in another state. So it goes by the state in which she was following.
He was the one that was recording.
Yeah.
Yeah, do the goofy.
She knew what she was doing. She knew what she was.
Yeah,
she looked all into this.
Yeah, she got a one.
But they definitely suing her for sure. They already had their attorney out here in the streets, and they have all
they
this
stay lawyered
information.
it up. So whatever they can do, they gonna do it. But
Yeah, so the thing is you just gotta wait and see. What I don't like is that so many people don't like Fresh and Fit, right? But yet they spend so much time talking about them. I don't spend no energy talking about nobody I don't like. I don't watch nothing they say. I don't do nothing like that.
You like Trump?
So what?
Do you like Trump?
I like Trump.
You like Biden?
No.
You never talked about Biden?
No.
So
I don't. Like, what I'm saying is I don't spend time talking about Biden. Only thing I say about Biden, let him go home and rest. Let him die in peace. He had trouble getting up the steps, and you want him to be the president of the United States? Like, why? Let him go sit home in peace.
Right? Okay.
So this is the thing, though. When you don't, so we're talking about a certain topic, right? And this just so happened to happen to this guy. It's no different from we talk about. I mean, it's a lot of people you may dislike in something that happens, and you're like, oh, look what happened to this person. It's just what it is. It's a scenario that we're talking about. The scenario, not necessarily the man himself.
Yeah,
We're saying that we're not dogging him. We're just saying it was kind of a stupid. You know what I'm saying? If anybody was in this situation, this is the dumb. Like, you shouldn't move this way. Period. It just so happened he's the poster child to it today. Yeah. And so I think if anything is something to learn. First of all, I don't have anything against Fresh or Fit, and I thought it was the other one. I thought he was Fit and the other one was Fresh. I was confused, but
Fresh definitely is not Fit.
How they came up with the names, but I think that it's something to be learned because now we have a real life situation, and if you're preaching to these guys to move a certain way, now there's a consequence that you have to face. And maybe, like somebody said, maybe it's something that people can learn from this. Like, you can't dibble and dab.
No, if you haven't learned, I don't know how old he is, but if he hasn't learned that lesson by the time he made it to the age that he is, then dude is even more of a buffoon than what we assume.
Well, this is my thing is the fact that from the little, because I don't really listen to them either. I've heard bits and pieces, I've seen clips and stuff.
Right.
Based on the content that I've seen that they create, I don't want to say he deserve it because that's not cool. But
I would almost say
you're
he earned
supposed to
that.
be the guru of
Maybe
mistreating women, right? Like like how Hank
No, that nigga is definitely no
say,
guru.
like leave them at the restaurant or whatever. Like
Well,
him, Fresh and Fit are the gurus of preaching the mistreatment of women, have them doing whatever you want to do, and then you, out of all people, end up in that situation. Is hard to feel sorry for somebody. And that's it's hard.
So and then too, real fast, I promise, real fast. And another thing to think about. Go ahead, Marcus. I want you to miss your point because I can always bring mine back. Go ahead.
All right. So what I was gonna say was mistaken. I get your point, but the people who actually live that Playboy life or whatever, who is having a whole lot of women, it's an energy that you vibrate at, and most of us that are from that cloth could be like they don't really operate in that same era. So it's a lot of stuff he's not gonna understand that you acquire amongst the time of messing with women. One of the things is if you get somebody pregnant that you don't want to have a baby with, the worst thing you can do is curse them out and try and tell them how you don't want the kid and all that. He'd be better off making her feel loved, and then telling her for them to stay together that they can't have a kid.
Well, I don't think that he was mean to her. Look at it this way. Do y'all think that maybe, just maybe, maybe he was feeling her and she just got pregnant too early and it's like, that was a turn off. Like, what? Huh? I'm not ready for that,
I think
like, I got prenatal vitamins and they gave her as a plan B.
I think dude, just from what I have seen, the little bit of him speaking that I have seen, I think dude damn near really got no play. You know what I'm saying? Growing up, he was a lame. He got treated. Females was treating him whatever type of way. He got on this platform. It started blowing up. He started having all these chicks come on there, that look a certain type of way. They putting out, and they was low hanging fruit. You know what I'm saying? There was easy takedowns. So now, as he continued to see more of them, and it started to engage with them, he did the dummy and was cracking them raw and slipped up on this one, especially if he taking them to meet his mama and shit like that. That's players don't do that. You know what I'm saying? If you're gonna meet my mama, then you official. I'm gonna keep you around. But if you just bring in any old body to see your mama, nigga, you a lame, bro. You don't have no game. You a super lame. So I would say he deserved exactly what he got because the nigga lame.
Well, I'll say this. I think I look at people differently, especially I look at Fresh a little differently. So I think that he probably I think I know he gets a lot of women before he had money and now that he has money. Problem is that he's kind of sometimes he kind of parades himself as a sucker. And what I mean by that is he gives women the wrong kind of attention because he learned very early that if you just listen to women and tell women what you want, they will give you themselves more times than not. And that is one thing Fresh is. He stutter, he do all the things, but for some reason, a lot of his issues that we can clearly see he has goes away when he's in pursuit of a woman. He know how to talk clear, clean. He know how to say everything to get you laughing and giggling. Listen, he is the king of networking for a reason. That don't mean that he don't do stupid stuff all the time. That also don't mean that he actually know what he's doing as far as a woman that he should commit to or anything like that. I agree that he deserves the results of his actions. He went raw on this woman, and I always say this: if you willing to have sex with a person, a child could be for you. I don't care how you feel it. I don't care if you think she's on birth control, you use a condom. If you decide that you want to engage in sex with a person, then you must realize that a child is possibly on the table.
Every time.
That is a baseline, right? You
Every
might
time.
get lucky, you might can pull out, you might use a condom, you might use birth control. The reality is none of that is foolproof if you decide to have sex. That's the reality, right? And he deserves the repercussion of his actions. But I don't think he deserves to be in this situation because of how he carries himself on a show or nothing like that. I think that in all actuality, we give people too much credit. We give them too much praise. We watch them. We hang on every word that they say. Listen, he a human being. He got clothes. He got bills. He got all that stuff just like we got, right? And I think that the issue that I have just in general, most people, is that you put these people on these platforms or you put them on these pedestals and make them better than what they actually are, when in all actuality, he's just a person just like you. Listen, I ain't got no skin in the game when it comes to what happens to these dudes' lives, right? I can respect them for certain things, say that you dumb for other things, and also realize y'all life don't mean nothing to me. Like, I might like y'all in some level or some thought, but in reality, y'all don't care nothing about me. I don't care nothing about y'all. And I don't care so much about y'all that I'm willing to hang on everything that y'all talking about and be like, call a spade a spade. Bro, this was dumb. You got you and your boy looking dumb as hell in the entire internet, right? And you got other men that follow you. Now they look dumb for defending your dumb ass.
No, they
You know
stupid
what I'm
if they
saying?
defend them.
It's like, bro, like the reality is like, listen, nobody is absolved of having issues, right? But when you're in a public, you got money, you're messing with women, and you don't think you about to get snagged. Listen, it's gonna come for you, and when it come for you, it hit hard, and
And the
it's
thing
unfortunate.
is, if you're having the conversation now, again, I'm assuming because, like I said, I don't watch them, but just based on like other situations of when you're looking at the constant that happens with like celebrities, with NBA players, with, you know, all of these, you know, people who are in the entertainment business, how they keep getting women pregnant with who they didn't want to have kids by, right? So you kind of see this thing that happens often enough. So for him, the reason is like it is what it is. Like there's not a level of, I guess, on my end, empathy, and maybe I should have. Maybe I haven't matured in that area in terms of
No, you shouldn't.
is the fact that if you're professing to be a teacher and trying to teach other men how to move and play women, and you get played, I like, you know, so and I'm assuming that probably some of his conversations, again, is an assumption, but based on content, I'm assuming that there's probably some content where he's calling other dudes probably lame and stupid.
Yeah, because he's talking about the basketball player that got Brittany runner pregnant,
okay, there
and
you
talking about
go.
the Drea situation.
Right,
He's talking
getting
about
somebody
people who's
else
in the
pregnant.
same situation that he's in now.
And now he finds himself in the same situation. And if he knew, kind of like what we were talking about earlier, if he knew that he did not want children, that was on him to make sure that didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with HD in saying that even condoms aren't 100%, but we definitely know no condoms. it increases the likelihood about 100%. You know what I'm saying? So at the very least, he even if he wasn't sure about love and all of that kind of stuff, we want to give him the benefit of the doubt because of his age, and he may have been lame and never experienced. And
How old is he?
we could give him all of that grace, but the one thing that we cannot give him is the fact that he had access to condoms. and he didn't use it.
And this is to all the men out there. Because if they've been having sex for an entire month, so this is how the female cycle works, okay?
Yeah, he probably was cracking a raw day one too.
Right. So she has a full cycle in a month. So if he's having sex with her on a consistent basis for a month, in that time frame, he gonna hit that ovulation because she's gonna ovulate during that month.
Second week, second, third week.
Absolutely. It's not like a hit or miss, like some people hit or miss, like maybe he had sex with her 1 week and then skipped a week. And then at some point, if you're consistently having sex with a woman and you don't know if she's on birth control and she's not on birth control, you're going to be in that vicinity of ovulation. And ovulation, when you have sex, it doesn't even have to be on the day of ovulation. It can be a day before ovulation and the sperm just chilling around, like waiting for an egg. And then the eggs show up
and if she planned, if she was planning, if she was intentional, she was probably tracking her ovulation. Made sure he smashed within that window.
And you know, she hit her with the leg lock too.
Sperm lasts about 3 days in a woman, so she making sure she got some fresh and fit sperm.
Hey, you know, as soon as he was finna blast off, she hit him with the leg lock. Like,
this is allegedly, we don't know this for a fact.
That's why I said if she planned it.
Well, you know, one of his mentors, one of the steps in a process for young men is to get a vasectomy. That's literally in the steps. Like, I think it's step number 2 from what's it, Rollo Tomasi?
That's
Rollo Tomasi.
That's one of the steps, right?
If you want to make some bread, you know, you don't want to be making unnecessary kids, get a vasectomy.
That's scary, man. It's scary that people like that have platforms. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, what? I got a question. Why is getting a vasectomy, which is 100% safe, scary, but having an abortion isn't? They're both surgery.
I think that, and me personally, I've always had pretty good penis management. You know what I'm saying? So as HD stated, and I've always had the same mentality. If I'm engaging with sex with you, then you know what I'm saying, I'll understand what it is that I'm doing, and I'm willing to, you know what I'm saying, go about it if that does happen, type of deal. So I think that's what I think that's scary about it is that unless you just simply know that you have poor management of yourself, then yeah, that makes sense. But to tell young men that, I think that's dangerous. Personally.
Do you think if they come out with a birth control pill for men, because I think that they're working on that, do you think men would take it?
I think
they would still
I think so.
It's on a woman to
take. They'll mix it right in the honey pack. It'll be honey pack / birth control. They'll be guzzling that shit.
Hey, but the scary part about that
if one thing is brothers are gonna do, if it's simple not to have kids, they're gonna take it.
Sex.
A lot of those guys are gonna what?
They're gonna engage in more raw sex, unprotected sex.
Yeah, so the venereal diseases will probably go up, you're saying?
Absolutely. It'll triple.
Yeah, because brothers ain't got no problem taking no pills. You're like, what? She ain't gonna get pregnant if I take the pill? Chew. Blue, chew.
Yeah.
All aboard the night train.
Wow. So you get
but
the
that's
pill.
So funny. I don't believe that. I believe that I just don't believe that the same people who had a problem with taking a COVID shot would sit there and take a pill daily.
Absolutely.
Don't underestimate the horniness of men.
Yeah.
Yo.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Listen, Shan, you don't understand the feeling of what it feels like when you put the tip in. You don't understand that feeling.
I would never know what that
very real
like.
feeling.
Well, that feeling got a baby on the way. Have a baby on the
This is
way.
facts.
Do you know how that feels to have a baby on the way?
Would you say
Not yet.
most men have D-discipline or most men don't have D-discipline?
I got
I
condom
would
discipline.
I would say that most men don't have dick discipline. I would say that most men don't have access to sex, so it's the illusion of dick discipline.
That's
I was
fair.
religious with them condoms. I told y'all my process with pinching the tip, rolling it down, removal, clean afterwards, take the condom with me, dispose of at my house or in the bathroom outside of the place. I was on 10, so I ain't got no kids.
Yeah, I wasn't in it like that. Where I'm taking it with me.
Yeah, no, mm-mm.
So,
Yeah, I
so
only
would,
had sex with a woman I was
would,
in a relationship with.
would you consider being consistent with using condoms dick discipline? Because I kind of think so.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it to be. But at the same time, again, like we stated before, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes the rubbers don't work. Sometimes the motherfuckers bust. You know what I'm saying? I done had that happen a few times.
How did the condom bust? When people say I never ever had a condom bust on me, so I'm trying to understand how did the condom
crazy,
bust?
bro. Shit, hey, I don't want to get too deep into it, but you know, you engaged in the
That
dude.
was the problem. That's how it busted.
Facts. Hey,
Listen,
and
bro.
then you know you pull out, and it's like, oh, like I knew that felt too good. It said, hey,
No, you definitely know when a condom busts. Like you can kind of like feel the exchange is a little different, and you'll know that the condom busts, but you still be up in it. So it's just like
it's 50-50.
Is it that it busts or it gets flipped off?
How does it? Yeah, because
no, it busts.
how does it bust? I've seen somebody take a condom and wrap it around a human head before, and then unless it's like something in her, like some genital warts or something that scratches the condom, what is it snagging on? It's lubricated going into a sleeve. You in
Or
the
they
sleeve.
could have put it on. I've seen too where they say that sometimes, like if guys
Don't
or
pinch
female, if
might
they
not
put
have
it
pinched it.
on, they have if they have nails, sometimes it can nick
Now, okay, I can see that if you scratch because it's got to get caught on something to rip the rubber.
Oh, maybe it's too big. They be trying to use them magnets and they should be using Trojan and it just slipped off and they say it busted when it actually it just didn't fit in the first place.
Oh no,
I don't know about all that.
Slip off. That ain't got nothing with it actually breaking through. Sometimes you can just go a little too rough.
If you have too much air in it. So that could be another thing is if you put it on wrong. I mean, some people do. If you put it on wrong, then and it has a lot of air in it, it can create an issue as well.
So somebody did say the condoms are too small for sure. Like them Durexes, you know, those
now
are
everybody in Magnum.
Hey, I can't even go into that.
Everybody's not a Magnum, but Durex is definitely a worth a brand of condom.
I'm gonna sit back on this one.
Everybody put your hands up to the put your hands up to the mirror. I mean to the camera. I'll tell you if you're a Magnum or not.
Hey, size 12 too over here.
That's wild. That's wild. That's wild.
But y'all see Marcus though, right? Now all of a sudden Marcus trying to grab cans.
Yeah, that's wild. But the Durex is definitely a weaker condom than freaking Trojan. That's a fact, Jack.
I've had regular Trojan.
That's the other thing somebody pointed out too. Condoms have an expiration date. A lot of times too, that can also happen is that if you're using condoms past the expiration date, that it is not as full, things. Sometimes they can dry out, not have enough lubricant in it, which will make the rubber break down some as well. So it could bust because of that as well.
I want to
Do
say,
y'all use
even
y'all
with
teeth
the
to open the condom? Did you open the condom
No,
by
hell
using
no.
your teeth?
No, hell
Like
no.
tear off?
I will say that that it would typically be like the thins or the bare skin ones. Those are sometimes a pop too.
So I ain't never used that.
Yeah,
I stay with
Y'all
the
ever
same
use
kind.
the sheepskin ones?
No, I
I
never used
never
them.
sheep joint.
Now I know they said back in the day that those weren't good, like when AIDS was a big thing, because so they switched over. But I heard that those are good for women who may be allergic to
Latex.
Hey,
latex.
let's move on, man. I ain't trying to get in trouble on here.
We could get flagged for this.
No, he's
No.
saying he's not trying to get in trouble with his girl.
Yeah,
his
I ain't trying to get in trouble
okay.
at home. Shit.
Well, that was like, unless you guys have anything else you want to add to the conversation, that was all of the videos. It was all the conversation. We can read the super chats. Marcus, can you do that for us?
You got to put them up. I'm not logged into the All right. Stay woke. Single mother don't deserve a good man. That's not a super chat.
Oh. But you know what? The thing about it is, and that's never mind. I mean, it's another conversation I'll probably talk about. Go ahead.
Congo English with the 20 ball. Shout out to bro. Appreciate the dialogue. We appreciate you sliding, bro.
Yes, sir.
Advanced perception with the 5. If a woman is unobtainable to other men, it doesn't matter where her body count is. Everybody has a past, but are you unattainable while with me?
Facts.
If you're unobtainable, never mind. Go ahead.
To everybody but you. So advanced perception with the $2. Bottom line, if you don't want kids, wrap it up.
Thank you.
Facts.
Or don't have sex.
10 again. Both.
I think he means both. It's both people's fault.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for the super chats. If you guys wanted to have any last thoughts or anything that you wanted to mention,
I had wanted to point something out with Shan when we were having a conversation early, so I'm gonna just share it with y'all. So when we're talking about being righteous and being honest, right? So I was explaining to her in my situation, a lot of times women do, I know y'all think that women are so smart, and like how HD was saying, oh, they have PhDs and they this and they that. They said, but when it comes to emotions is very different. You can be logical about your PhD and certain things. And what I was going to say is that I was telling Shan that I'm grateful that my husband had, before we was married, that he had a level of righteousness, because I had shared with her, he probably could have had me on the street. You know what I'm saying? Because of how much I cared about him, that I was willing to do anything for him. And I am thankful that he had some level of discipline, some level of righteousness, where he didn't take advantage the way that he could have. And so that's what I was saying in turn. And he was honest with me. He let me know. I've shared that with y'all before about him being honest with me, that he said he did not want a relationship. He had just got out of a relationship, with his baby's mother, and he just wasn't looking to be in a relationship right now. So that gave me the opportunity to walk away, which I didn't. I was feeling him. I liked the conversation. I'm like, in the back of my mind, maybe this can go somewhere. The more time we have getting to know each other, that was totally on me, but once feelings got involved, I felt like I couldn't, I could not deal with him. Right. Until I finally decided not to, but it took me having to physically be away from him in order to do that. You know what I mean? But I can appreciate that he had some level of integrity, some level of righteousness with him, because when I say he literally could probably have had me doing whatever he wanted, that was the space that I was in at that time. So I'm very thankful. And so that's why I say being righteous and being honest are two different things.
From what it sounds like when you talk about him, I think that might have been the reason that you was like that.
Exactly.
Like that he was that righteous because you trusted him to that extent that you would have done anything he asked.
I think,
You don't think so?
No, I think that I possibly was mistaken, but I think men know when you get a woman emotionally involved, you got her, right? I think that you guys have all been in a situation where you've had a woman wrapped around your finger, and maybe she wasn't that kind of woman, beforehand, but she fell in love with you, and you knew that you had the power over her because she was so in love with you, right?
Yeah.
I think that you guys all, and I think that that's what women, until they get to that point, women have to love enough crazy people to put that defense up to be able to say, okay, I won't let another man get me like that, but then they're considered damaged, right? But it's the emotional intelligence. But naturally, in its natural sense, I think that women were designed to love. We're emotional creatures. I think that that's for a reason, because we become mothers. We mother children. We're nurturers, right? And I think because of the way people move, including us, the way society has moved us, that has kind of been, we've been robbed of that, being able to be that, because now you're on defense mode. They have so much love that they could give, but it's either been taken and not reciprocated, or you gave it to the wrong person, or it didn't end the way you wanted it in. So now you've got a defense, you got a wall up. And so the next guy who could mean well can't get it, or it's a little harder to tap into that. So it becomes a very dangerous situation. Even when it's kids, you have a little daughter, Marcus has daughters, she gonna fall in love with somebody because she was designed to love somebody. But you got to teach them, like, look, these are the things you look for to stop your heart from going there. But then we got men over here who grown men tell them, well, this is how you get them to be in love with you. So all this manipulation going on.
But
Go ahead.
It's manipulation on both sides, though. Boys are also taught to learn to love the same way that little girls
For
are.
sure. And I think that they changed their ways because of something that happened to them early on in the process, right?
For sure. I mean, who we are as adults is only a reflection of what it is that we've experienced in life. Now, as far as with Miss Taken in her situation, and somebody said it in the comments too, he was able to feel how genuine and authentic it was that you felt about him. And just off of what I can have experienced just from this short time of me knowing you, you seem as if you're a very soft, feminine woman, compared to what else is out there. So, of course, a good stand-up man is going to treat a woman like that differently every single time, all day, every day. So, yeah, it was definitely one of those deals of where he acknowledged and was aware that he could do all of that, but there would be consequences of it. You know what I'm saying? Being that it'll either break you or it'll escalate everything and just into complete chaos, in which he probably just got out of the chaos. You know what I'm saying? So
what Shan was talking about earlier about how women fall in love, and how Miss Taken was describing he could have had you doing anything. That's the basis of my belief that all women can be positioned to be molded to the women you need, but they have to get to that point. If you can't get her to feel that way about you, then no, you can't do anything about anything she do or say. But if you can get her to that point, you can get pretty much anything that you're
But
trying
that's
to.
why I also think it's important for women. And I don't know, like, I guess if I had to go back and do it over again, like, I had his daughter that he had before me, but she's my daughter. She lived with us. I helped raise her. Is that if I had to do it over again, knowing what I know now, which is hindsight, I think as women, we don't, and men, if you're an involved dad, teach our young girls how to develop an understanding of who they are, right? And I think that part is very important, because when I look back on how I was able to be that person, like he could have taken total advantage, is because I didn't have an understanding of who I was. So I didn't have, like true standards. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have a knowledge of self. So when you don't know who you are, you open the door for other people to define who they want you to be, right? And I think that was part of it, because I lacked knowledge of self at that age. He showed me something different that was new to me, based on prior, high school experience, boyfriends, you like really in love, like that kind of stuff. So I would say
He's older
that,
than you as well, right?
yeah, he was older than me as well. So, and the boyfriend that I had in high school, like, they were good dudes too. So I attracted nice, like, I guess I can see something inside a dude that, was attracting a nice spirit. But I think part of that with him, because even in that my high school relationship wasn't the same on this level. You know what I'm saying? And I think part of it was because I was still in a process of learning who I was. So he caught me in that process of not knowing who I was. And so it was easier for him to, I'll have to ask him later, do he feel like he was manipulating me or playing it? Like, I can't say.
Everything is manipulation.
Right. So I would say, so certain things that I was able to fall victim to because of my lack of experience, because my lack of knowledge of self. And in some ways, I'm gonna definitely say he took advantage, but it could have been a whole lot worse. You know what I'm saying?
You talking about your husband?
Yeah, it definitely could have been a whole lot worse. But again, like I said, the fact that he had some level of integrity and righteousness, I think he did limit himself from going too far. I'm saying.
So do
But
you
go
do you
ahead.
feel that you don't feel as if you've taken advantage of him in some sense, and saying that, not looking
I
at it
think
from a
I
negative.
have. I definitely think I have as I got older,
Right.
because I think me getting older, living with him, both of us growing and changing, because at 18, when I met him, my life experience was very limited. My knowledge of self was very limited. And I must say, he's helped me grow into my own,
Yeah.
right? By being with him. So I think once I started growing into my own and getting to have a better understanding of who I was, I definitely think that at points within that, I have definitely have taken opportunity to manipulate and get things that I wanted from him as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think it's important for us to point that out too, because people hear those words and get triggered by it and think that this is just some negative. Oh, he's using me and blah blah blah, and as if it's a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're supposed to use and take advantage of each other. That's why we're in the lives of each other. If I can't learn anything from you, then what the fuck am I here for? You know what I'm saying? And that goes on both sides. If I can't get anything from you in this relationship, then what's the point? You know what I'm saying? You're useless. So I think that it's important for us to find someone that we can take advantage of and learn from to grow ourselves, so that we can become the best versions of ourselves. You know what I'm saying? With that person. So
Right, but I think that I think the key is with that person. I think the problem is today is people are using people to better themselves, and they have no intent on reciprocating. that.
Like I
think
definitely think at
that's
that age, if I had ran into, I mean, just listening to the things of how you say you were when you were younger, you know what I'm saying? Even Marcus, I think at that age, if I had ran into either one of you two, I probably would have the attitude that all men suck, right? I mean, because
Hey,
based on
I
what I
ain't
was
never had a
seeing,
female say I was trash. I never
no, no,
dated.
no, no. I'm saying in terms of the way that y'all said y'all played the game. You know what I'm saying? So in me knowing that I probably wanted a relationship and you knew that you didn't want one, that you may have played over me to get what you have wanted while I got stuck thinking that it
No,
was going somewhere and you knew it wasn't.
no, I've never ever been that type of guy. Like
I think
Oh,
she
I'm the
meant
type of
Marcus.
I'm the
I said Vince too. I
I've
did.
always been the one where I would literally I've turned down numerous women all throughout my life.
Okay.
You know what
Yeah,
I'm
well,
saying?
it was just Marcus.
Look,
Auntie told us last week what was
Yeah,
going
I'm Pat still spills the
on.
tea.
Laid it all out on the
I'm
table.
Pat
So
spills
it
the
was
tea.
definitely Marcus. It wasn't Viz that was acting a
Look,
fool. It was Marcus.
Marcus would have you on the corner.
I would. So to be clear, I only lied by omission. I never told no lie. Like if you would ask me a direct
That's a lie,
question,
though.
huh?
That's still a lie.
I'm just saying.
That's like, so if we
So
take your same HIV story and she didn't
mhm.
tell him that she had HIV and she slept with him because of omission, she's at fault.
Or she
That's
could have
yeah,
said,
no,
man,
that's
Carry on
stupid
with your
bogus.
story, Marcus. Let's hear
look,
your story.
look,
Go
if she
ahead.
said, man, you ain't gonna use no condoms, you probably could catch something.
Go ahead, Marcus. We want to hear you out.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think the
it was I only did it to 2 girls. Everybody else I was almost 100% truthful with.
I
As
could
far
have
as
been one of those girls.
2 girls. Sucks
I
for
could have
them.
been one of those, and now you forever mess me up for trusting a dude.
But I
yeah,
know I will. You know what? All the women that the 2 women I'm talking about, that they next relationship they was married. So I
You
groomed
helped them.
for marriage. I did. Although I was cheating, you know what I'm saying? Everything else I put together so perfectly that they'll tell you now. They're like, "No, you was a great man. It's just you cheated. That's the only thing you did wrong." And I was like, "Yeah, that's true."
yeah. I was really listening to you, mistaken in your expression about you not knowing yourself, and because you didn't know yourself, that you would have allowed a little bit more control in some areas that will probably have been to your detriment. I think it's interesting because even when you listen to some of the men say that they want younger women, sometimes they want younger women for the very thing that you said that you'd explain. Like, it's not necessarily to control you for your bad. It's to manipulate you in a way that you do the things that I need you to do. And that's a very dangerous thing in the hands of a person who doesn't see any value, or that doesn't want to treat you well, right? But a brother that actually wants to take care of you and treat you well and show you a level of respect and care. Listen, if this man, listen, I think that it's important to understand, um, that first of all, we're better together than we are apart, right? And that if you have a person that you're willing to be in a relationship with, I think there should be a level of benefit and a doubt that both sides should get. Of course, when you're young and you're learning each other, you're going to have selfish tactics to manipulate things for your benefit and not the benefit of the relationship, right? Like, i.e., sex compliance, or i.e., power dynamics in a relationship, that kind of stuff. But I think overall, it is a very interesting conversation that you was bringing up as far as what do you tell children or women that are coming up or men that are coming up, because I sometimes think identity is fluent in certain parts of your life, right? there needs to be a base foundation, but there's some things that should be changeable. Like it should be interchangeable. This part should be able to slide out. You should be able to put this in. But also, I think that the more knowledge that you get, the more likely you are to think that you know better than the other person. And I think sometimes when you're having conversations with women, whether you're older or whatever, when you have some of the conversations with women, if you want him to be responsible for you, but you don't want to listen to him, then to me, that's a recipe for disaster.
Every time.
But also, I don't think that you should be ignorant to see a clear problem and not bring that to his attention. Like, yo, you're literally about to go off the cliff, bro. Now, granted, what you do with this information is on you, right? But I see there's a cliff on the other side, and you're about to fall off that cliff. Please stop. Now, it's still up to him to make that decision to stop. But I was really enjoying trying to figure out some of the things that you were bringing up as far as what to tell the next generation that are 18, 19, 20, because I don't believe that necessarily finding yourself may not necessarily be 100% the answer, but also I do believe that there needs to be a foundation in place that even when somebody wants to quote unquote use you, right, that you're not being used ill-advisedly. Like somebody isn't using you to basically destroy you. You know what I'm saying? Because it's very easy for a man that you care about to use the good things about you to basically abuse you, basically.
And
And
see,
I
and that's
think
the
that
other thing too with women, with girls, especially. I mean, y'all go through puberty and all of that, and that changes for y'all. Y'all puberty, I think, is more of the, well, not to say girls don't get horny when they go through puberty, but for y'all, I think it is probably at times 100. Um, but I think for girls, our times 100 is our emotions as we're going through puberty. So we can fall in love at the drop of a hat during that stage, right? And that's why I think
Guys too.
it is
Boys too.
very, very dangerous when we are pushing for older men to date younger women in that regard. It's like, oh, just because she 18, she 18, she grown. No, she's not grown mentally, she's not grown in an emotional state, especially if you are like most girls who, like HD was saying, what do we tell the next generation? Most girls are not taught to really develop who they are. I don't know if boys are, but I think boys get more of a talk in regards to trying to develop themselves, know who they are, things like that, than girls do. So I think boys go in a more in a situation with having a little more knowledge of self than females do. And again, I know I'm seeing from the perspective of a woman, what it appears to be from the outside looking in as a woman. And so when we get into this talk about that, that's why older guys need to get with younger girls so they can mold them and create them and make them into the type of woman they want them to be, which I think is not a good thing. Like even if the dude is a good dude, I think sometimes you may stem like the growth of the potential of the woman of who she's supposed to become. Now, I am very thankful again that my husband wasn't totally in the mindset of manipulation to the point that you're gonna be that woman that I want, you're gonna do everything, you like that kind of. He was open to letting me develop into the woman I became. Like, I have him to thank because he definitely had influence on me
sure.
with things. And definitely I would say a positive influence. And I'll say in most areas. There's some areas where the influence got pushed back because the little bit that I did know of myself was just based on the foundation and a grounding that I had from my parental upbringing, right? So it was just certain things that he couldn't, I guess, in that mindset break, because that was a part of who I was, but not just necessarily recognizing that. But I think a lot of times in these spaces, a lot of times men are saying date older women so you can make them do this and that. And when they're saying that, like, a lot of times these are girls' experiences. I remember being in high school, being 16, 17, and well, I graduated when I was 17. Like in that age, actually, I say even from my freshman year, from being 14 on up to 17, where there were men who were in their 20s hanging out at the high school during lunchtime, because we had open campus, so we were able to leave campus and go to lunch. They would be there after school, the same, just trying to pull high school girls. And you can't tell me that that's because they were trying to get married. They weren't.
Now those men for sure are predators, right? Let's just call it what it is. If you're in your 20s and you're at hanging out at a high school, you're a predator, period. Now, me personally, I don't think that there's anything necessarily wrong with an older gentleman going after a 22, 23-year-old. And I'm sure most men would agree with this, but when you do, or if you do find a woman that young, then it's easier in most cases to go through the relationship, just how they in most cases with older women, through the experiences that they have had, they'll put up whatever type of walls out of fear of what may happen, or they may have whatever bad habits, or whatever the case may be. So I think that for some men, if they have good intentions, that I don't think that there's necessarily an issue from it. And just with, I don't know what the age difference is with you and your husband, but I mean, there are situations where it works out perfectly fine. You know what I'm saying? There's no issue. So I think that it depends on the level of maturity of both parties. Me personally, when I was younger, I was more so into older women, but that was because I was always around older people, and I didn't want to deal with the things that the younger women were necessarily, doing and what they was on. So I think that it all depends on the level of maturity of both parties, as to where it's kind of like, the age thing is, as long as they're legal and you're not doing something super bogus, I don't think that is necessarily an issue personally.
So would you say 18 and the other person is 27 or 28?
I would say that that's definitely pushing it for sure. I would say that that's pushing. If you're in your late 20s and you going after somebody that's 18, and yeah, you kind of borderline pushing it for sure. But again, I think that it depends on the level of maturity.
So one of the things I struggle with is, I know when HD was talking about ways for us to push the next generation, right? And we typically don't want to tell them, especially in this time, go out and just mess with and date as many girls as possible, right? That's not what we're trying to push at this current point, right? Same HD.
No, he was
What's
talking
that?
about finding when we were initially talking. We was about
Look,
learning who you are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no. Make another point. I just want to make sure that this is a common thought before I go through with this point. Like, yes or no? Do you think that we are encouraging young men to mess with like a lot of women right now? Yes or no?
I would say yes. The quick answer, yes.
Okay. So the reason I struggle with that is because when I hear a lot of the situations that men find themselves in relationships, and when we like just choose better, you should just know this. A lot of it comes down to like I can categorize this and place women in different categories easily. Like it don't take long, like 3 to 5 minutes of a conversation. I'm like outfit, attitude, voice, temperament. Okay. Outfit, attitude, voice, temperament. Okay. Family history, past relationship history. But
Yep.
you don't have a subset or a sample size to choose from or pick from. You might ignore so many things that to men who dealt with women is an obvious red flag. Like, and like the more I talk to different people, I'm starting to realize that because some people haven't had that example, they really are out here blind, so they don't know how to choose better.
So how do you teach that to women? Because for women, we have an added layer. We're told after the fact to vet better, to choose better, but we're in the same situation as you all, because we're also taught not to be out there dating a bunch of people. So if that's the way that we're going to gain our experience, by dating different guys, meeting different guys to kind of be able to vet and categorize, if that's the way that y'all get y'all experience to know how to categorize women and say, nope, she ain't somebody that I need to be deeming as wifey material. Nope, she, smash material. As a woman, how do you develop that aptitude to learn how to determine and vet a man if you're not supposed to have dating experience? You can't have a lot of dating experience.
The way you fix that.
I would say, and I always say this, you learn life from the living. So if you need to be around people that have that experience, or even just be aware of what's going on in your surroundings. I think that's a easy way of how to figure that out.
But you say that's easy, but I'm thinking about the typical African American household, right? If you're raised by a single mom, right? So you don't have the living example in your household, right? So you have to look for that example outside your household.
Right.
So if she can't be my example, I don't have my dad in the picture to help guide me in that regard when it comes to other men. My mom doesn't go to church. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not put in a situation where I'm around enough credible people that I can observe this. The only observation I have is in my immediate area, which are not good examples.
I mean, well, you got to do your due diligence to get around that.
Well, how would I know to do that at 15, 16, 17? I wouldn't know because I have nothing to compare it to. You understand what I'm saying? And I think that's where mostly a lot of men and women, boys and girls, I'll say, are in that situation where they don't have, unless you play sports. So I think a lot of guys are able to be around other men because they see coaches and stuff like that may be able to give them a level of guidance.
So
whereas girls may not, they hit or miss in terms of them joining sports to get that guidance.
I don't think that women necessarily is going to be completely oblivious to whatever type of exposure. even if you're around nothing but negative, even if you're around nothing but negative influences, if you have the desire to not, if you come to the conclusion that this is not what you want, you know what I'm saying, then there's still a opportunity for you to not get that. You know what I'm saying? To do, again, your due diligence of finding a way to not have that experience for yourself.
I disagree, because I agree with mistaken, because there's no way for her to know if you don't got no example to even know what you're looking at is wrong. I think that's probably fall on the older people. Like, married women need to mentor. Like,
For sure. Absolutely.
Need to mentor.
Absolutely. But you also, as a student, you also have to seek it though. You have to, one has to seek knowledge. You know what I'm saying?
Know what to seek? You don't know what you don't know until you run into a situation that lets you know that you don't know.
I'm not sure.
Being in a household. So what I'm saying is, if it's normal being in a household that there's a single mom that takes care of everything, right? And that dad may pop in and out, or you may have different boyfriends that pop in and out, or, you know, being in a household where verbal abuse is normalized. Like, a lot of these things become normalized. So you don't know that is any different until you see different.
Case in point, I've had this conversation with people and told them how we don't argue, and they tried to tell me something was wrong with us. Because people normalize things and they don't realize how detrimental some of this stuff is. Some people think it's normal. Like, a sign of showing love is putting your hands on the other person. There are people who believe that.
True. No, I agree. I agree. Now, I'm not saying that what you guys are saying is not true. All that I'm saying is that especially in this current day and age, you will always be exposed to something. You know what I'm saying? If you've been exposed to nothing but negativity, toxic love, so on and so forth, you still at some point have been exposed to the opposite of that. Now, if you make the choice to acknowledge it, that's something completely different. But we all, once you get to a certain age, you understand the, you know what I'm saying, the balance of, okay, this is what I'm seeing, but it looks really nice. You know what I'm saying? Their relationship is really cool. They don't do what my mama and her boyfriend do, or, you know what I'm saying, all the other stuff that I've been exposed to. This is intriguing. Let me go and search and seek more of this to be around it, because I like the way that this feels, you know. So that's the, I get what y'all saying, but I feel that, again, with us being in this age, and literally in the age of information, you know what I'm saying, at this point, at a certain age limit, there's almost no excuses to it. I think that it's a choice at some point.
That's why I think the algorithm needs to be hacked, because we can program people to be any and everything at this point. The technology exists, the way the algorithm works, the way you can plant seeds in people's ideologies and mindset. You literally could program people in the next generation to what is it? Be receptive listeners, to have extreme conflict resolution skills, financial management. You can remove material. You literally can fix all of those things.
They have to want that.
But the way the stuff is set up now, sensationalism runs things, and they'll more than likely be fed Blueface and Krishan than Tabitha Brown and her husband.
That's if that's what they're looking for, though.
I never looked for Blueface and Krishan. I seen a lot of that. A thing popped up on my feed today that said the best relationships are relationships that argue and fight. Because what did they say? It's not, if you don't fight, it means that you guys are holding stuff in, not saying it, and that the moment you have a big argument, y'all gonna break up. But the people who fight and argue have strong relationships because they got over the issue and learned how to work together after that. That's a complete line of bullshit to me.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? I think it was the people who like to fight trying to engage with people who don't want to fight and bring us into that conversation.
But I'm curious as to on what platform you saw that on.
It was on Instagram. It was on Instagram, and I try specifically to subscribe to like like the big booty girls and all that stuff, when they pop up, I don't never hit the like. I look at it, but I don't never hit the like, right?
Right.
Like I'm gonna scroll through. When it be relationship stuff, I hit a like. When it be positive stuff, I hit a like. When it like I try to specifically hack the algorithm intentionally to get a desired motivation result.
Yeah.
But that stuff still somehow, because it's popular, filters into the feed that I'm getting.
Because it's popular though too, they also count based on how many seconds or how long you look at something.
Right.
So even if you don't press a like, you like, I don't press a like, but you looking at that ass.
I can't control my eyes.
How long? Or how long?
Hey,
Oh, he stayed on this 20 seconds. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? So
Right.
it still kind of reads what you're looking at.
For
as
sure.
well.
check this out. Do you know that the best way to hack the algorithm is to not be on the platforms? Because guess what? You have more control outside of the internet than you do inside of the internet. And unfortunately, in the scenarios that you and Marcus gave, mistaken, the thing is you're trying to fix a problem that was already broken from the start. So you're starting at the point with like a 1970s car with the bodies all built up, beat up, and it's got rusted and stuff like that. You're trying to fix this jacked up car. If you have a situation where you have kids and sons and daughters that are in situations that don't have any examples, they're in messed up situations, you need somebody to be able to see this car and put the work in on this car. There's nothing you can do about these situations unless somebody that knows how to fix these situations comes in to fix it. The best thing that we can do for the kids of the future is to create the environments that is beneficial for these kids to be able to learn and to adapt and to grow, and then make smart decisions in our like bubble, basically. Like, don't have them just flying off at the handle, doing whatever and doing this, that, and the third. Listen, you give them some guidelines, you give them some bumpers, and you watch them up close as they continue to learn and experience and do the things. Because in all actuality, listen, if a person is in a child is in a household with no father, that's a big problem. If he's in a place, if this child is in a home with just a mother, and this mother isn't teaching her daughter anything, that's another problem. If she's at a school and she's going around and she's doing all of these things with all of these guys, like, there's no quick fixes to these situations. I think the only thing that we can do is to actually, like, the people that actually can try to help these children in the future, we need to put ourselves in places where these kids is at. So whether it's at the schools, whether it's at the churches, whether it's at, the cheerleading, we have to have the people that actually care about the community insert ourselves where the kids are at, so that we can be in the vicinity so that these kids can get the stuff that they need. Because if they're in a place where none of that's available, you're right, they're doomed until they learn from their own experiences, which is going to damage other people in the process. But if we remove ourselves, then that continues to happen. But if we insert ourselves into the situation, then we can start changing the game for these kids. Because I done met a number of kids where they ain't got nobody to turn to. They literally don't want to talk to their father. They just literally, they don't want to talk to him at all. And I'm asking them questions like, why would you want to do this? And as you continue to spend time, they latch on to you because you are the one good thing. You're one of the good things that they see, that it cares about them in some regard, right? And you don't always say things that they like, but it's important for us. If we think that we have anything to offer, we need to find ways to insert ourselves in the community and the spaces where their kids are in order for us to help.
So I have
I
a
agree.
question to the guys. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Viz. Go ahead.
Go ahead with your question.
My question is, Marcus, I know you're a dad of girls. Viz and HD, if you were in a situation where you were, like you said, maybe helping with even mentoring girls, because I do think there are times where girls need mentorship from males, because we are limited as women. I definitely think we need mentorship for women in terms of being a woman, being ladylike, like certain things. But there are certain things that a woman will not be able to teach a young lady that a male can teach a young lady about men, right? So in terms of giving advice, or advising young females, what would you say in terms of, as raising a young girl, what things would you do to teach her how to have a knowledge of self? What are advice? What are things you would do as a dad or as a mentor to teach girls to develop a sense of self, a knowledge of self?
I mean, I think that is the interactions, the interactions that you have not only with them but with other people. Um, them seeing you, bring flowers home, hold the door open, just doing the basic necessities that is needed of men, or expected rather. Communicating with them, talking to them, exposing them to more, to greater things. I mean, on the basic level, I suppose,
I would tell them they're gonna need to find a female role model. Like that would be my best advice for them. Find a female that they respect and want to emulate, and then see can they track her steps and get some one-on-one time with her. Because
yeah,
I can't really teach a young woman how to be a woman.
yeah.
I can treat my daughters a certain way and expect hopefully they go out in the world and accept that same treatment. But that's why parenting is so important. I think people really your kids at an extreme loss if they don't got access to both parents. I mean, it's sad that people in that situation, but it is what it is. Like they're at an extreme loss because it's things that my wife can provide that I can't provide to my daughters, and it's things that I can that she can't. And it's so blaringly different that it almost it's like the problem can't be fixed without both of those things there, because you'll be an incomplete person. Then it's gonna require probably therapy. Maybe that's the best thing for people who weren't raised with both parents. They probably need to go to therapy and get an assessment on some of the things they struggle with, because a lot of like daddy issues, abandonment issues, those type of things, when they can be identified, then you can probably have courses of action and tools set in place in order to help you work through that. But as it stands, just in general, I don't think it's any one size fit all advice as a man that I could give.
I think too that with therapy is kind of tricky, because we're right now in an age of where everything has a label. And so with these labels, people then give more power to those labels as to where they victimize themselves in it. So I think that there is a fair level of understanding it.
Is this that racism don't exist stuff? That you're a victim if you believe in racism?
Say it again.
Like, in your ideology, do you believe that if you believe in something or give a name to it, you give it power and it takes over your life more than it should? Like,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
I firmly believe in the law of attraction.
I do too. Do you believe depression is real?
I do believe depression is real.
Okay.
And I think that the only way to get out of depression is for a person to make the decision to accept whatever it is that they're going through, and then do their own due diligence to get out of it. Aside from that, there's nothing that a therapist, a preacher, or your mama can tell you. That's literally a internal thing you have to fix within your own self in order to get out of it. People can help you, but nobody can make you get out of depression unless you're actually working. to do it. And again, either accepting what it is and or accepting what it is and doing the due diligence to become better in it.
I think sometimes people, not specifically you, but just in general, in my opinion, a lot of people view their ability to self-start, self-soothe, self-heal, self-evaluate as something that's universal, when it's really a skill set or a genetic trait or a personality trait similar to height. Some people just don't have it, and they're gonna really need to tap in with somebody to get the skills in order to move forward to the next one.
Right.
And depending on the kind of depression you have, it is, like you said, something genetically. Sometimes you're not producing enough serotonin, things like that. An average person who is going through depression may not know that. And so when you go to therapy or, a psychologist who are able, and I agree with you that sometimes we over label. It is a business. So I do agree with you in that regard, but I'm talking about the ideal situation in terms of good therapy. They will be able to guide you. I agree that it's going to be on you to do the work. The therapy is only as good as the work that you put in it, and that's with anything. But
That's
like
right.
Marcus played basketball. Now, he may have been good on his own in certain things, but he was able to develop and get better depending on the coaching that he had, because that coach was able to see areas where he was weak and be like, no, you need to do it like this, right? And if Marcus took his advice and went and practiced, he developed that skill set even better. And I think that's what a therapist does. It teaches you things about stuff that you're not even aware of. And sometimes we do need the labels, because the labels help us have a general understanding of a concept, right? So like in school, I do believe that, again, we may over label kids and say, oh, they have ADHD or they have this and that. But
and they intentionally show out.
Right. And then in special ed, there's 13 categories of disabilities that they can qualify for. But the purpose of the disability isn't to say that this person is less than or this person is really to say, okay, this is the impairment that the student has. So everybody has the same working definition of what the problem is. So we can move in the same fashion to say, okay, this particular impairment may need to require, like if they hard of hearing, right? This particular impairment, they may need a hearing aid. They may need an interpreter. They may need to sit in front of the classroom so they can read lips, things like that. So we have to have the same working definition in order to provide the specific supports that they need. Whereas I think in therapy, it's the same concept, is that by going through therapy, you're able to identify, oh, this person is suffering, may have, depression. Well, let me dig a little deeper and see what kind of depression it is. Okay, well, this is probably more of the serotonin aspect. So I'm gonna have to refer them to a psychologist, a psychiatrist, so they can write prescription to help with that. You know what I'm saying? I think
in many cases that makes them worse. I mean, we saw a whole epidemic of kids.
Yeah, it depends on.
We saw a whole epidemic of kids being labeled as ADHD, and they started dishing out Ritalin and Adderall.
Yeah,
and all
that's
that
what I
other
said.
Stuff. And now
I'm upset that I wasn't labeled with ADHD growing up, because I could have greatly benefited from having to take Adderall in high school and college. It would have.
But do you know that for sure though?
Yeah, because as I was an adult, I got diagnosed with it, and then I went and got medicine for it, and it changed my productivity level by like 1,000%.
I mean, but your brain was your brain, your body developed more. You know,
I remember before taking it, then after. It was a clear difference. You ever seen the movie Limitless?
Yeah, absolutely.
The way my brain works is a little. I'm like neurodivergent, so I have a different type of brain, which is why I kind of see things from a different perspective.
Bless you.
And what that did was allow me to organize all of my thoughts, and I feel like a superhuman. Like I could access stuff that I couldn't. I wished I could have accessed it when I was. I probably would have been a doctor and a lawyer at the same time. Like
it helps slows your brain down. Like if and for some people who do have ADHD, it is a level of it is like one of those impairments that are on a spectrum like Asperger's or like autism, right? So you have Asperger's on that high end where those that Rain Man type that may specialize in one thing, but then they don't have the social skills, right? Or it could be on the other end where they can't toilet themselves. They can't, you know what I'm saying? ADHD is kind of like that too, because for some people, the medication don't work. And then I read somewhere, and I did this with my son, like coffee, for most people, it'll hype them up. But for some kids with ADHD, coffee is good because it helps settle them down.
Mm-hmm.
So it all depends on trying to find where you are on that spectrum. But one of the things we talk about therapy, the crazy thing is literally tonight, my husband and I were just having this conversation. And I had explained to him that I came to realization because we were talking about just in general abandonment issues in general, right? About people not realizing how some of their childhood impacts them as adults. And then he was just saying in general, like you'll hear most men, oh, it didn't bother me that my dad wasn't around, because they don't think it has an impact on them. But in your adulthood, when you really look back, that can lead to you not even realizing that the reason you're trying to control or do certain things is because you might have abandonment issues because your dad wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? So we don't recognize. And so in that conversation, it made me do some reflection just on my own. And I'm like, I realized that I think I may have abandonment issues, not that my dad ever left or my parents ever left. So I didn't have the physical abandonment issues. I think I had emotional abandonment issues, and that I realized I leaned on my husband a lot to provide me emotional security. So that was a big thing for me, like in my relationships, when like people talk about, oh, money is important or looks are important, da, da, da. And I'm like, F that money, I can make my own money. That wasn't an issue. Forget all of this, physical aspect, attractive men. Yeah, you can find attractive men, dime a dozen or whatever. Attractive men are going to be available. For me, is I needed the emotional part, and that especially for a dude, that's very hard to find, where you have a dude that can emotionally connect. And I think I leaned on him a lot for that. So when I would tell him, like, that's why part of me dating and going out is not necessarily you spending money. It's about spending quality time, because I feel more connected.
Right.
That's what,
Maybe that was your love language.
Right. Because that was what I was lacking from my dad growing up.
Right.
And so I looked to him to give that to me. So part of that is messed up on my end, because I need to learn how to fulfill that within myself. I can't place that burden on him to fix it. Like what you were saying, is on me to fix it. But the first step is me even acknowledging or even recognizing that was probably an issue for me, right? And so in that conversation, I was like, wow, I never thought of it like that. So just in our conversation, it exposed me to think about my own past and how that past show up in our relationship now.
For
and
sure.
when I don't feel emotionally connected or feel like he's fulfilling me, what is my response? How do I act that out?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, definitely that was a great conversation that I thought sparked just talking in generic terms, and how I was able to take what we were talking generically and apply it to myself. And I think a lot of times as men, and this is why I know y'all get so mad that I always keep talking about the emotional intelligence, but this is partly why, because a big thing about emotional intelligence is self-reflection.
Absolutely.
And so in that self-reflection, Are you only reflecting on the things that matter to you, or are you reflecting on the things that will be beneficial to other people that you're in relationship with? Because for me, it's very important for me to fix that, because I can't become an emotional burden on other people.
That's fair. I think I do agree with you. At the same time, I think that at the same time, I think that in self-reflection, and also having a spouse that does, and on both ends, that do create an environment for you to feel comfortable enough to do that. That makes it a lot easier. So I always hear you out with the emotional intelligence part. I think that if there's a situation and I think, okay, well, how would this affect me in this circumstance? Is going to, from that decision, if I'm involved with a person that affects them, is going to affect me. You know what I'm saying? So if I make this decision that I know that this is what I want to do, but my spouse feels the opposite, then I have to take into accountability that, okay, well, if I do this, then this is going to affect that, and it's going to cause this type of environment in which I don't want. So I think that it's still important for a person to be selfish in a sense with that, because again, the decision I make is going to affect the people that's, you know what I'm saying, in my world. So if I want to keep this world stable and not volatile, then I have to be aware of not only my emotions, but also the emotions in the way that it'll impact everybody else.
And I think it could have the opposite. HD, I'll let you go. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Point, cause I know it's burning.
No, I was just going to say even the opposite. So for me, I was able to identify something that I didn't get and looked up on somebody else to fulfill it. I remember having a conversation with my son, and he's currently married now. He's 24. He got married at 21. Yeah, 21 or 22, around there. But one of the conversations we had was, it was a situation where his wife was looking for emotional, I guess, that connection or on that level. But for him, he was like, it's hard for him to give that, not because he didn't have it. He said, to be honest, I feel like I was raised in a very emotionally connected home, that I felt loved, I felt, protected. I got all of those things. So he was like, it was just natural. So for me to be able to identify when to give it, I don't, in my mind, I don't even know what to look for to say, this is what my wife needs, because it was just automatic in my household. So I just moved the way that I just normally move, not necessarily recognizing that I'm not able to identify what I need to do to give her the same emotional security that I received when I was younger.
I think that in that situation, though, it may be a instance of her not knowing how to communicate that. I think one of the biggest issues with men and women in relationships is that, especially in those circumstances, right? I've had women tell me numerous times on social media that the whole, well, you can't make me happy, type of deal is not for you to make me happy, but is, well, I'm with you. If I'm with you, then that's what I want to do. I want to make you happy. So if there's something that's wrong, like that, like the one reel that you had, I think that I sent or somebody sent, if something is wrong and and you acknowledge, and I acknowledge it, I bring it up and I try to fix it, and it's like you blow up on me like you're always trying to fix something, and it's like, well, shit, what am I supposed to do? You know what I'm saying? If I give you the space and it's like I feel distant, and it's like, well, shit, I don't know what to do because I'm going off of what I'm assuming that your emotions are, and you're not clearly communicating it to me. So regardless of what my emotional intelligence is, that all varies from time to time, especially with women. That varies from time to time as far as with what it is that they want. With men, if we want our space, we'll show that. And we just want our space. If we want to be up under our woman, then we'll show that. But it'll be different sometimes with women. So I think that in that case is one of those situations again where she may feel where she may not be communicating exactly what it is that she wants. So now it's a position for him of where it's like, well, shit, I don't know what the fuck to do now.
Go ahead, HD.
So to go back to the question, because I was thinking hard at the beginning of what to say. And so I came to a couple of things. One, I would tell, especially daughters, because I do believe that men should mentor women and men. I think we should do both. But I don't think that they should do both alone, basically. Like there should be some other person with you in that process as you're trying to work with young daughters. I do believe that. One thing I would tell some of the young girls that I know is that if you're only making the decisions by yourself, you're the only one to blame. So you must be willing to work with people. And that's why I think it's so important that if you have adults around that actually have some sense, right? You should understand that kids need to learn to explore, and they need to be somewhat of a blank canvas for certain periods, like fluid, because the thing is what they need from 10 to 12, 12 to 18 is going to be different in those seasons as their bodies continue to change, right? And I always be a big component is like work with the people that's willing to work with you. And just because you have somebody giving you good advice, that doesn't guarantee a good outcome, because even some of the best advice that work for somebody else may not work for you. So be willing to, as you said, that I think this is something that I picked up on as well. You need to be able to sit with yourself and pay attention to your feelings, right? But because you feel this way, this does not necessarily make it to be a fact or to be true, but it is something to pay attention to. Like say, for instance, you feel like an itch on your knee, right? You may feel that and there may be nothing wrong, but if you're feeling something that's happening in your body or in your mind and in your thought process, you should have the ability in the space to take time to actually sit, listen, and pay attention to those things and ask yourself questions and talk to other people about it. Now, of course, they're going to more than likely want to talk to their friends because you tend to gravitate to the people that you like. And most people like their friends, so they'll talk to their friends. But I would always try to push, because I want to focus on daughters because we spend a lot of time on boys. But specifically with daughters, because I've had the opportunity to kind of like be around and kind of mentor and see kind of like daughters kind of gravitate to me at certain points and realize that it's a tough balance to realize that oftentimes we overcorrect their natural desires and we prescribe things as being bad instead of saying not now. Sex, for instance, and relationships. Like oftentimes we approach with daughters, nope, not nope, 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 nope. Everything's nope. Your thoughts, nope, none of this. So what I kind of, as I continue to listen, as I continue to think, I try to be protective of them and themselves, because there's sometimes where women will wear stuff and I'd be like, that's unacceptable. But then a woman says that that's acceptable because men should be able to be disciplined and police themselves. And I'm like, that's great and all. But I'd rather you be in the most protected state as possible so that you don't even have to deal with some of these things. And it's just like sometimes it's an uphill battle when it comes to men dealing with younger daughters, because, you know, we can always run up with the fact that we're not women. We don't understand what life is like as a woman, right? But because we understand life as men and we know what men do, we want to do the best that we can to protect women from men, right? And some of the things is that we protect women by getting them to stop doing some of the things that they want to do or that they want to wear. Hey, I want to wear this. I want to do this. I want to say this. I want to do that. No, 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 no. So I've had to find a balance, because many times we'll try to stop women from dating people, right? From dating people at certain ages, which I think is fine. But I expect around like 15, 16 for women to be interested in, to want to be in relationships with guys, right? My goal is, as though you're in relationships or trying to get in relationship with guys, I don't want you to do that by yourself. I don't want you to be experiencing this relationship and be like, oh, this is our privacy. No, it ain't no privacy. That's out the window. Like, bump that. I think we should be able to allow them to have guided dates. Not, oh, you just send them off to the mall and bye, baby, you have a nice day. We're not doing that no more. That was cool back in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. We're not doing that no more. We are going to try to do the best that we can to make sure that if they're experiencing new things, they're not experiencing it and having their own thoughts. And
All
that's
right,
what
y'all.
I've come to.
Thank you. I'm trying, y'all know I've been laid down for a little minute. I try to let y'all talk, but Shantae Monet is ready to go to bed. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for sticking in there with us. I hope you guys have a fabulous weekend. See you guys next week. Same time, same place. Good night.